Hey everybody, welcome to the Blue Room Lounge podcast.
Welcome back to the lounge.
We are here in your past, and you're there in our future, you time-traveling beauties, you.
First day of the year.
First day, Happy New Year's, Happy Hanukkah, Christmas, all those things.
Kwanzaa.
Yep, that one too.
Festivus.
For the rest of us. And of course, we got a great Hollywood Dave episode for you. He's our guest, our super special guest. We got Mark Heavy Metal Detl in the house.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thank you so much for being here, Mark.
You're not exactly looking to up your viewership or your listenership, are you?
Well, we have Dave on, so...
They
so
don't actually,
in other words, no.
They don't actually release these. This is for their own personal. This is for their own personal
Well,
thing.
you know,
I've been told.
I'm kind of disappointed because I actually took a shower and stuff before I came, expecting this to be filmed and everything.
Oh, no, we're not as fancy
So,
as...
I'm disappointed.
What
and
is it?
I did pass two homeless guys on the way that probably would be more interesting than us two. So.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
And you know what? It's not about being interesting and having crazy stories. It's about being with your friends and hanging out and drinking some beers. And we
peanut
got
butter beer.
a table full of all sorts of drinks. Thank you so much for bringing that. And we got some gifts. Dave gave me a gift. Let's open this really quick. Let's see what this is.
That was more for your family. But
Yeah.
need-
The yearly
We can do it
Hollywood
now.
the yearly Christmas card, and then I got these for you guys. Here's that.
This
Here's
is
that.
awkward because I
Yeah, I didn't get
didn't
anything.
bring anything, and I stole 3 glasses off the shelf.
So far.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just a holiday card, and then I can save $1.50 on stamps. So that's great.
Are we gonna open them right now?
I don't. It doesn't matter to me. You know what? Leave them here if you want.
Let's do
I'll
it
give
in
them to
complete
somebody
silence because that's great for a podcast, right? Mark?
else. ASMR.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's the season of giving, and we're so glad you guys are giving us your time, and we wanted to make sure we had some stuff for you guys. And on we go.
Yeah.
What I really wanted to talk about was Mark. You used to be in
Somebody.
be somebody, be on the radio.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool. I'm sure it was a job.
Sort of. I mean, it was a job you wanted to do as opposed to a job you had to go to every day that you hated doing, So yeah, it was cool. I worked at 97X and the various stations there for 13 years or so.
In the Rock and Roll Mansion.
Yeah, actually, even before that, when it was down on River Drive across from Wonder Bread, I was down there for 6-8 months before it moved up to Brady Street at the Rock and Roll Mansion, the old funeral home. So we were the first tenants in it after it was a funeral home, which was
Was that kind of spooky?
It was because one of the upstairs rooms was still
Had dead bodies.
well, actually, it was the embalming room, so it still was all tiled and still had the lighting and stuff.
and like a big drain in the middle or
Well, I
something.
mean, they didn't really do much to it.
Oh, my
So,
gosh.
and at one point, I think Dwyer Michaels had their office in there and stuff. But a crazy story was I used to do a lot of overnights in there, and that was when people had to be there 24 hours a day. It wasn't computers, it wasn't
Yeah.
programmed and all that stuff. So, it'd be 2:00 in the morning. I'd go to the kitchen to put something in the microwave or get a pop or something. And right by the kitchen was a freight elevator that they used to haul the bodies up and down. Because the freezer I think was downstairs, so
Basement.
they would. Yeah, exactly. They'd keep them down there, and then they'd bring them up and down as needed. And it'd be very, very frequently the freight elevator would just settle like right as you're like going to the kitchen and be like bang, you like scared the shit out of you, and it's like, oh my god, I'm in a funeral home, there's ghosts, so it was pretty weird.
So
But-
you were the overnight guy mostly? Is that? I'm trying to remember. Like,
well,
I know you as.
So what year?
Mark Detl,
What years
but not
would
as,
that
like,
have been?
Heavy Metal Detl on the radio, and I'm sure I remember you.
but I did a lot of part-time stuff. I wasn't like
Okay.
full. I was when I started, I was full-time with one of the morning show guys as kind of like a producer or assistant, basically.
like the modern day hairball.
Yeah, exactly. So that would have been
yeah.
like summer of 1987 ish. Something. So yeah, a ways back, and we had a guy. Ooh, yeah. How old
I was
are
just
you?
a twinkle in my daddy's eye.
Yeah,
Probably not even that. But yeah, I was there full time, and then that guy wound up getting fired or moved on or whatever, and just there was 3 or 4 stations in that. KSTT was there then, and which changed into KJOC. So I did a lot of different stuff. I did a lot of weekends, part-time stuff, overnights, things like that, fill-in stuff, So, which there was a lot of us, So, so it's very possible that people wouldn't know me just because it'd be fairly infrequently. But we had a show called the CD Saturday Night Replay on Saturday nights.
I remember that one.
So I would do a lot of those, which is awesome. It was
Sounds lazy. You just
it was
put a
the
CD in and hit
It
play,
was.
right?
It was the easiest shift in the world.
It's like what modern day radio is now, where
Right.
somebody just programs
Right,
it all, right?
exactly. But man, you wouldn't believe the stuff I got done band-wise there. Like if my band was, we had a demo out or something, I'd spend all night burning cassettes in the production room, and typing stuff up and making flyers and shit, So it was the best gig ever, I got free flyers, I got to dub all our tapes, and
So what was the concept of this?
so it was the CD Saturday Night Replay, and it was
So young.
Yeah, this was 87, 88, 89, however long it went. So CDs were pretty big, so the sound quality was great, and the whoever was programming it would pick 5 CDs, and basically we'd play it in its entirety, like a record.
What a perfect segue.
Yeah.
So the first episode, Hollywood Dave doesn't remember because he was so blackout
I
drunk.
absolutely remember.
He was there.
If you tell me.
But we did our first episode 5 fully listenable albums.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't give you a lot of time to think about this, but some of the highlights was like Chicken Boy had Mr. Bungle. What did you have, Dave Hollywood?
Oh, I had Radiohead, not Kid, OK Computer, and I had.
Did you have Tool on there?
Yeah, I think I had Anima, and probably a Faith No More record. I think on there, and I bet if I did that list now, it'd change. Right?
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah, once you think about it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dave? What was some of yours?
Enter the Woo, 36 Chambers.
Oh, yeah.
Folsom Prison Blues.
Yeah, and I
No
can't.
FX record.
Yeah,
right?
no FX. Yeah.
I
So
can't
long
remember
it takes
if-
for the shoes.
if
Pink
this-
Terror record.
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
Vulgar
I
Display of
think I
Power.
remember Dave's. And you had a weird Christmas record. Right?
I was just gonna say
You had a
that
weird Christmas record.
I was just talking about it on the last episode. I just went and saw JD McPherson perform Socks, and Socks is a 20-minute album, very easy to listen to. It's a holiday record, but it's so good front to back. And so that was kind of a funny one that I had picked. Do you have any albums that you could put in and just listen all the way through?
Let's get Mark on the spot here, and we'll just analyze Mark's top 5 favorite records. Go.
Time for the suck off too.
Yeah.
It's weird because I don't know if they would necessarily be my favorite records and my favorite genres, but they have kind of personal ties to them as things that was going on in my life at the time, or something that means something. Like I guess something like Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon is not a record I even own, but every time I kind of hear the thing all the way through, it just kind of blows my mind, even if I hear pieces and parts of it. But my mom and my dad were divorced when I was pretty young, and I would go stay with my dad, and he was a big music guy, and he had this little tiny one room apartment, studio apartment, and then that album came out in like 73, I think 71 or 73, I don't know, whatever it was, but so this is 75, 74. I was pretty young, and at night I'd go to bed on the floor, and he'd put some headphones on, and he'd play Dark Side of the Moon. So
cool.
I would go to sleep to Dark Side of the Moon, or
Through the headphones?
Yeah.
That'd be trippy, too, because the music circles
amazing,
around you.
So anytime I hear that record, it just brings back a lot of stuff, and, I can listen to all of it and just have these memories flood, and ELO and New Worlds Records, another one like that, that flies way under the radar of classic rock records, and so it kind of just depends what kind of mood I would be in. I of course graduated onto Kiss from there, that was a big band for me, and then once you kind of grow out of that, you grow into an AC/DC and Judas Priest, and then Iron Maiden, and then thrash metal blew up for me, in '83, so Metallica. So, I would pick a Maiden record, Power Slave or something. I would pick probably a Metallica record just because it was literally groundbreaking and
Which one? What's your favorite Metallica record? Go.
Probably Kill 'Em.
Load.
Black Album.
Probably Kill 'Em All. I mean,
right,
that literally set me on a path to, I am still a thrash metal nut. You know? So it's the thing I stay up to date on the most. So, and that was the first one, you know. So, and I got that for Christmas in like 1983.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was in on the ground floor.
Who got you that for Christmas?
It was probably my stepbrother.
Tight.
And then I got like Show No Mercy from Slayer for my birthday in February '84. So I was in on the ground level. I saw Metallica on Ride the Lightning tour.
Yeah, I heard you had a pretty good Metallica kind of experience.
Yeah,
or maybe even several from what it sounded like.
I've met them a handful of different times, three times I think, something like that, and I met them on Master Puppets when they were here in Davenport, and kind of spent.
Where would they have performed then?
Call Ballroom.
Okay.
So we got a bunch of pictures from
That's
that.
where all the
day.
good people used to go back in the day.
All right.
Yeah.
Before they blew up.
87, 88.
Or was that before the mark?
That year?
Yeah,
86.
86.
Yeah, before the
Mark.
mark.
Yeah.
I think the mark was maybe when the mark showed up.
Like
90s.
92, 3, something
Yeah.
like that. Thereabouts. So, yeah, I had a day with those guys pretty much, hanging around. And
That was cool. And was that now through the radio station?
No, that was just, I didn't work there yet. I was just a fan. Just showed up at the hotel. They stayed at the Black Hawk Hotel that day, and just I was a nerd, and by that time I'd been into them for a couple of years, and and they weren't big yet. They were just starting to kind of blow up, and I'd seen them the tour before and whatnot. So I was just hanging around, and I met Cliff Burton down by the bus, and was able to go up to the hotel room. He took me up to his room to meet Kirk Hammett.
Oh, damn.
So I got a couple pictures up there, and so I went to the post office with James Hetfield. He was mailing some letters, and the post office was next to the Black Hawk Hotel, so we went over there and stuff. So yeah, it was cool.
What a crazy experience.
You couldn't really do that now. You can't really hang around hotels,
So pre-internet, how
Yeah.
did you figure out they were staying at the Black Hawk? Did you just see the bus? Is that it?
I don't know how that came about, other than guess, and then found out, they were by the buses. They also played with Armored Saint that day, and so I don't know if you guys know who John Bush is, but that's their singer, and he is the most nicest guy I think I've ever met in my life. He took me onto the tour bus and showed me around the tour bus. Lars was on there. I saw Lars there, and then I saw. A couple years later, I saw Armored Saint again, and I saw John Bush, and he remembered me from the year before. It was weird, you know? And it's like, how would why would that? How's that even possible?
Yeah, you see them as this larger in life group, and it's like when you have a teacher in school.
Right.
There's only one teacher. There's only one Metallica.
Yeah.
There's a bazillion fans.
Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing about that day was, so out in the parking lot, Lars is out there with Armored Saint guitarist Dave Pritchard, and they're just screwing around, and Dave kisses Lars or something like this, drunk probably, So I had a camera and I took a picture of it. Well, several years later, Dave Pritchard died of leukemia.
Oh no!
And Metallica and Armored Saint toured frequently, several times throughout the years of that time period, so they were really good friends. So I had that picture blown up of Lars and Dave, and then I had the picture of Cliff that I took at the tour bus because he died 6-7 months later from that tour in Sweden in '86, and so I had those pictures. I also had the band English band Diamond Head. They did the Am I Evil song that Metallica covered. Anyway, I had a 45 double gatefold British single that I had, and Lars collects all that kind of new wave or British heavy metal stuff, so I gave him that, and I gave him the two pictures, and he was like blown away. He was like, wow, man, that's pretty cool. And then there was a picture of us of me giving him that stuff, and that picture showed up on his personal bio page on his internet Metallica page for like a year.
A picture of the two of you with the stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can we call him right now?
I don't.
Yeah. Do you have his phone number?
Yeah.
And then the cool thing about that is too, when I met him gave him that stuff. They put a DVD out called Cunning Stunts, and it was a double DVD. And
it was like a tour album or something?
Yeah, it was
DVD?
Yeah, it was a live show. And the second deep part of the DVD was all like photos from all the shows that they did on the tour. So like, whatever date Moline was, there was a bunch of photos from the show and fans and maybe something from the city and then Pittsburgh and this and that. And it was all of the bonus features on the DVD. You can go buy it now and look, but one of the pictures is me and him.
That's cool.
From the
awesome.
Moline show. So people give shit to Lars all the time about what a douchebag he is, but I did not have that experience whatsoever.
Yeah.
He was always super cool to me.
You got early Lars though.
Yeah.
That was 97 that happened.
Would that have been before the Napster incident?
Napster stuff would have
probably
been like early
2000s.
2000s.
Yeah.
And
but even then, he really just was probably the biggest guy to be able to do that.
he was.
There was probably plenty of people that were upset about it.
Oh yeah,
but
I think Prince.
Oh, I'm sure Prince was.
Like
He didn't.
Britney Spears.
Prince didn't allow any of his music
I just watched the South
on.
Park on the whole Napster episode not that long ago, and that's a great source of information. If you have further questions about the artists that really stood out against Napster.
Well, you know what? In the end, as history has proved, Lars was right. You know? And I don't blame. People can say, "Oh, they're just rich guys" or whatever. But man, you should have you should be able to control how your art is distributed.
Yeah.
And if they didn't want it out there free, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked shitty.
Even streaming now, they kind of get screwed on.
Oh, absolutely they do. And everybody says, "Oh, well, everybody used to tape tapes and then tape them for somebody." Well, that happened one at a time.
Yeah.
Here and there, and
it sounded terrible.
it sounded terrible. If you were a fan,
a copy of a copy of a copy of a tape is awful.
And then you probably went out and bought the record.
Yeah, if you wanted the actual. At some point, you wanted to see the liner and everything about it.
So whereas you put a file on the internet and it's automatically available to the world, all at one time. So I get it.
So did Mark Detl download songs off Napster? Go.
Off Napster? No.
Oh, okay. LimeWire.
I have a handful. certainly a handful of songs off LimeWire, which would have been like weird B-sides you can't get,
like super rare stuff.
Stuff off soundtracks that are one-offs. But I did not. I still to this day don't download music. I buy everything.
Okay. So you don't subscribe to a streaming service?
I don't have not one thing, and I buy physical copies of everything I listen to and own.
Is your house just like full of records and CDs
sure.
and
guitars and beer?
I've got short of 4,000 CDs probably.
Damn.
You're a collector. Like you collect things.
I am. I'm terrible. I got.
No, I didn't mean that in a negative
no,
sense.
But
so you're saying Mark is a hoarder? Yeah.
No, I said collector. It's a very, very different word.
I grew up.
I don't think his wife would allow him to be a hoarder. I grew up.
He just got talked to before he came.
Yeah.
I'm a thing guy. I like things.
Yeah.
If it's guitars, I like guitars.
Right.
And albums. I grew up as a fan of the bands I loved, and I just bought albums, and so that was my thing. And then it was CDs, and then it was tour books or some other offshoot of cool stuff, books, things like
memorabilia.
I couldn't wait to digitize all my CDs and get them on an iPad.
Yeah.
Or iPod, right? Like I was ready to okay, I don't need these. Get them out of here. Pack them up in a box. I got this little thing. It's got all my music on it,
and it totally makes sense. I get the convenience of it.
Do you use put your music onto iTunes?
No, I don't. I don't even know what iTunes is. So this is funny we bring this up because we just now a couple months ago bought our first car without a CD player, and I'm going fucking nuts.
Yeah,
right.
And because
driving in silence.
So
the radio.
Yeah, exactly. So my thing is, since I still buy CDs of all that stuff. I've got probably at some point 200 CDs that I haven't had time to go through. So how I did it was I grabbed 10 new ones, throw them in the car, do a rotation 4 times through each one. It was the only way I could kind of keep track of what I heard, and then when I'm done with that batch, I file them, take 10 new ones, throw them in the car, because
How do you file them?
Yeah, that's the key. That's the collector.
Alphabetical?
Alphabetically, depending, I kind of got like one whole wall of like kind of just new thrash stuff. Like I said, that's the stuff I kept on, and one's kind of just metal. There's some punk stuff, so it's a little all over the map. But then, we got no CD player in the car. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm dying. I'm going to die. I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah, sign you up for Spotify.
Yeah. So then it's like, well, fuck. So now I got to digitize it, put it on a thumb drive. I got to figure out how the thumb drive works in this car, and it's like, it's not convenient for me, because if I go on a road trip, I just want to go through, grab that, grab this, grab that, and go.
Yeah.
I don't want to stick them on the damn computer, because, like you said, though, you want to digitize everything. I've got 3,800 records or CDs.
Yeah.
I ain't got the time to do that.
Do you have things that like nobody else has, you think?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Like,
I mean, I've got stuff that's worth something.
I guess I'm talking about like I couldn't find a lot of them, some After Darks albums, and then even Tony, the drummer, was like, hey, do you have these albums? And can you send them to me? And can you snap some pictures of the artwork? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that.
I probably have a couple of theirs. They're After Darks are one of my favorite local bands ever.
Dude, yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure I have things that I don't even realize are, kind of hard to get or whatever, but I've recently kind of started logging all my stuff onto Discogs to kind of keep track of what I have, what pressings they are, and stuff. And it's kind of like digitizing 3,800 CDs.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you got to go through and then find out which pressing you have. What country was it pressed in? Okay, well, there's 20 different pressings of this thing, so you got to read all the all the numbers off the goddamn CD that you can't see with the magnifying glass to figure out which one you got.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that's fun. So I only got about 1,000 more of those to do.
I'm sure it's a labor of love, though.
But
I'm
you know
sure
what?
You love it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's the collector.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The nice thing about it is it keeps a running total. Because if you know what Discogs is, it's a music website where you can buy and sell. It's kind of like eBay, but just music related. But it's very minutia related as to exactly what pressings are what. There's pictures of the album covers and all the different similarities and differences between pressings. But it also keeps a running tab of what everything on that site sells for in a high, low, and mid sort of thing. So anytime you add a piece to your collection there, it automatically keeps a running total of your collection total, so like I think right now I have $127,000 high of music.
Nice.
And mid
Retirement.
well, technically it's probably everything's in the middle. Everything I have probably wouldn't sell high.
And it's only worth it if somebody will pay it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like anything.
Yeah.
So, but it's a nice way to just keep a. Exactly when you have a piece that's valuable as opposed to just a $3 something or other. So it's like, oh, better take care of that one. So, especially now with the way vinyl is.
Yeah.
So.
You still rocking milk crates or?
When I was at the radio station, when we moved from one station to the next, I acquired about 6 really nice wood album crates.
Oh, okay.
5 or 6, and then one really nice long one. So I just had one built actually. And then I actually was able to snag a huge ass wood CD rack from the station too, when they kind of got rid of all their CDs and stuff. So I got that, and then several other ones. I'll actually show you pictures later.
Yeah.
For some reason, I took a picture the other day, but so. When CDs started to happen in 1988-ish, when they really started to get popular, I started kind of trading in all my bunch of records for CDs, so it's because you couldn't really afford to flat out buy your CDs, so you trade in a big pile of records, and then you
Get one.
Yeah, you get one or whatever, and then so kind of within the last 2 years, I've kind of started to go back and kind of replace a lot of the vinyl I traded away, which is painful.
Oh, I bet.
Painful because, I traded away a lot of my favorites first, It's like, okay, go buy a first pressing of Megadeth, Killing Is My Business, or Show No Mercy from Slayer. Those are expensive.
$300 later or something?
You can get them for less, but multiply, 40 or 50 albums of those, or more, whatever, and I traded a bunch of my Priest and Scorpions and, entire Saxon, or except if you guys probably don't even know what those bands are, but
I do.
They're 80s metal bands that, a guy my age would be into at the time, but so I've been slowly doing that and stuff, and luckily I didn't trade away some things like Kill 'Em All from Metallica. That's a big piece. Ride to Lightning's an expensive piece now, and I traded away a Master of Puppets, like a radio copy I got from the radio, and that's like a $300 record now or something. I'll never get that back, and I probably got $2, $3 for it at the time,
Right.
and somebody probably bought it for
money.
$5 or $10,
And I wonder what CD you traded it
Right,
in for,
exactly.
right? And if that
Yeah.
CD matters to you at all now,
Well,
right?
I'm sure it does, but
yeah.
but there's not value
Right.
to it really so much. I guess you would be surprised that some of the first pressing CDs have a bit of value. But
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Because I got like 400 CDs in a box. I'm like, why do I have these?
Yeah.
What do I do with these?
yeah, nothing.
Nothing is the answer?
Well,
looking for
I mean-
answers here. Should I get rid of them?
$1, a couple bucks.
You want them?
Yes,
I'll bring them. Oh,
Okay.
no, yeah.
Bring them over here so I can digitize them first.
I already did that.
Well, that's not me.
I'll just give you the hard drive.
Oh, okay.
God, now
Yeah.
Lars is going to be mad. Oh, my God, sorry.
He's a longtime listener,
Yeah,
too.
he is a long-time listener.
So what I'm finding out now is that because what you're saying about the CD thing is very true. They're fairly worthless depending on certain parameters. You get some death metal, some thrash metal stuff that's never only been pressed once or twice. You
Yeah.
know, and unavailable
out of
now.
print.
So those hardcore collectors will
Sure.
pay decent money for
Right.
because hardcore CD collectors are out there. Just like there are vinyl and whatnot. Just less of them probably, but. So I'm waiting for. I'm not getting rid of any of my CDs because I know how this happens.
do not contact Mark to buy his
Right.
CD.
I know how this
Contact
turns
Hollywood
out.
Dave, please.
I got rid of records, and I know I lose sleep at night. So I'm holding on to all this crap that ain't worth nothing, and it'll
Yeah,
be my
but-
wife's problem. When I fall over dead.
Vinyl came back, so I'm sure
Yeah.
10, 20 years, people will start
Why
collecting
not?
CDs again. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, they're smaller.
Right.
Look, they're
Yeah.
compact
Yeah,
discs.
and then and
Compact.
so the thing with vinyl is a lot of times is it resonates with people that grew up on vinyl. So there's going to be a time when maybe that age group that grew up on CDs is going to have that nostalgia thing too.
Yeah.
and it'll come back around. Maybe I don't know.
And then it came into being like 2 generations removed really got into it. So it'll probably
Right.
the generation that has CDs, that'll be popular next for them.
Yeah.
And then after that it'll be their grandkids
Yeah.
or something.
Because vinyl right now is striking a big nerve with people that had no idea, never grew up on it.
My niece, she's 21, 22, and she had like a handful of albums before she had a player.
yeah,
yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And at the time, I just had, for some reason, I had like 8 record players, and I was like, just take one of these.
Yeah.
yeah. It's weird, and the way these things were being sold, like I'd trade in all that stuff, and I'm sure there was thousands of us who were just getting rid of this stuff because it was a dead media. It was CDs were the new thing, man.
Well, and
it
you
was,
can't take a bunch of records and slide them into your car.
Exactly.
Yeah, right,
And
right.
exactly. It sounded better, or just different better, I guess, depending on who you ask. But, so people that were in on it started buying up all that stuff, and they were way ahead of the curve, you know. And it's like, God, I wish I would have not done that, or gone back and started buying that stuff again for $3 or $4, because man, it sure wasn't worth it, to get rid of it, But Yeah, so I'm glad I kept what I did, but so now I'm kind of going back and picking up stuff that maybe I never had on record to begin with, and at that time as a kid, you can't buy everything, so there was tons of things I remember seeing. It's like, I remember seeing that. I never got it, and I was just telling a buddy tonight that there was a record. So when I was young, mid-teens, whatever, I lived by South Park Mall, and so I would go over and spend my time at the record stores all the time, whether it was there, co-ops, or whatever, and I would buy a bunch of albums, and then I would write down the addresses of these bands that were on the albums I'd see in the bins, so I would write Pantera, I would write all these no-name metal bands and get all the stuff back, I got like an autographed 8x10 from Pantera from like 1984, and
you're just writing a letter to, hey, I'm Mark.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Hey, it's Phil. Like, hey, can I get an autographed picture? And, and they'd send you stuff, or you'd get on a mailing list or whatever, and this one band was called, like, Savage Grace. They were on the early pressings of Metal Blade. Metal Blade, was kind of blew up in, like, 1982, 83. So they were signing all these underground metal bands and stuff at the time. So, L.A. and all that. They were a California-based label. So, I'd write all these bands, and so this Savage Grace, would send out a fan letter, and it's like, hey, we're putting together our new record, and we're doing a picture collage, so take a picture of yourself doing something crazy or whatever, send it in to us, we'll put you
that's
put
a lot of legal liability.
Yeah, it was
1982,
85, and so it was like,
and that's how the selfie was born.
So I just recently found out that I'm on this picture collage of this record that
That's
I never
cool.
got. I mean, I don't know why I didn't buy it, and I just found out on Discogs there's a picture of it. It's like, I wonder if that ever showed up, because I remember I found the picture the other day, and it's like, sure as shit, there it is. It's on the thing, and so it's like, now
you saw like a blown up picture of the album, and you're on there,
right, on the inner sleeve collage, because that Discogs will document, the record, the cover, the sleeves, and stuff. So when you're going to buy a record, what it's supposed to have in it, or what it is, so it's
what
like,
a great idea.
So now I'm trying to buy this damn thing, and you can't touch one for like $100 now.
No.
It's like, why didn't I buy that? And I've never known until now that I'm on there, with a bunch of other people. But
I like this idea of just writing bands letters, right? Yeah, and there was an address.
Yes.
In the liner, right?
Yeah.
Just like, hey, send Pantera a letter.
Right. I've got a handwritten letter from Kerry King.
Yeah.
From Slayer. I used to get, I got a really super cool handwritten letter from, if you guys heard the band Voivod.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So their drummer, Away, his name's Michael Langevin, but he does all their art. Hand draws all their art and hand paints all their art and stuff. It's a really super neat, unique way that he writes all the song titles and the lettering and stuff, and so I got a letter from him with all the song titles of their second album coming out, all in his script handwriting with little artwork in it and stuff, and so I mean, I used to do that with bands. I was a big hockey nut, so I'd write hockey teams and get all kinds
nobody
of
cares
stuff.
about hockey. But what?
Slow your roll.
I know. What were you sending them? Were you just like, hey, I'm Mark, and I think Slayer's awesome, and
Yeah, it was just a fan
little-
stuff.
yeah.
I
I had spaghetti for dinner. What'd you have?
What's your favorite color?
Yeah, like I'm thinking of that. That'd be me if I was like 11 writing it. Like,
yeah,
hey,
it's just
I had school today and it was stupid.
I'd rather be a rock and roll star
Yeah,
like you.
Like send me some stuff.
Nah, it
You
was
bum.
just a big fan of the band. I would like to, get a picture or, get on a mailing list and stuff. It was pretty harmless stuff, and a lot of times you didn't get anything, but, I got a lot of cool.
I would send a
8x10s.
follow-up.
Also, I like the car that you drive.
Excuse me, Lars Ulrich, I mailed you a letter in 1984, and I never received anything back, and I want to understand what your problem is.
But yeah, it was a fun time to be a kid, though, to look forward to the mailbox and get that stuff, or like I said, hockey team stuff, autographs. Players were pretty accessible back then. I've got an entire frame full of Hall of Fame player autographs now,
That's
just
cool.
from writing. right? I don't know if people still do that or not, kids or whatever, but
I feel like they make it so commercialized where you
Yeah.
have to go to the training camp and they have a row of hockey players and they rotate
Or there's
and-
an autograph session.
Yeah.
and I've seen stuff where like business guys go to NHL games and they're like, hey, can you sign these
Oh, yeah.
10 rookies of you?
Exactly.
And I'm
Yeah.
going to turn around and sell them in
Yeah,
10 years for a
exactly.
lot of money.
And those dudes are careful. I think the athletes are a little more careful about what they
yeah.
sign because
Yeah.
they know they can see that dude, or they'll send their kids
Sure.
in too.
Yeah.
You send your kid in there.
well, it was a different time back
but one
then.
at
for
a
sure.
time, really. Like,
I
Yeah.
know, right?
And hockey was pretty under the radar then at the time.
Yeah.
You know, so and that was middle '80s. You know, so nobody cared then, really. You know?
it's still a select few now.
I was
Yeah.
a nerd too. I just have this picture because I actually emailed Henry Rollins.
Oh,
And he
nice.
emailed me back with because I asked him like some books and some music, and Johnny Thunders,
yeah.
The Ruts, The Clash, Generation X, The Buzzcocks, Suicide, and Iggy Pop.
How old is this email?
Yesterday.
No, 2003
Yeah.
or 13. 2013.
So it probably
That's
came
cool.
from a Hotmail account or an AOL account.
I know they played here. They played 2 shows in Rock Island.
Rollins band?
he's an AOL guy.
He was an AOL.
Yeah.
Henry Rollins at AOL.com.
Yeah.
Well, 21361 at AOL.com.
Yeah,
awesome.
they were here. They did Ribco. Black Flag played at Ribco, and then they did an all ages show the same day. I didn't see it. I don't know what happened, but
All ages show. That's crazy.
yeah. Mike Mudd took a bunch of photos that day too. I guess he can't find them right now, so we're trying to. It's like, dude, you got to find the Black Flag photos. You know,
Mike Mudd, one of the 5 One Night Theaters drummers.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
Kind of like Spinal Tap.
He recorded Octane. He was the guy on the. He used to play the Blue Ribbon Lounge.
Yeah,
or the
yeah,
Blue
he's-
Ribbon- yeah. He's the drummer on there.
Thanks a lot,
Not
Mike
me.
Mudd.
Not me. Yeah.
Thank God.
That's why it's good. I
Yeah,
know. Oh, Muddy.
He's playing a big gig tonight down at Rust Belt.
Yeah, I'm gonna play the Rust Belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get into a better band.
It's true. Well, I'm in a band with Mark now.
So yeah, we won't be playing.
no, we'll
Yeah, let's talk about.
Want to talk about Zed?
yeah,
Want
let's
to talk
talk-
about our band? More Mark's band than my band. I don't know. Hold on, Mark's got to get a beer real quick.
So I don't know if you remember Mark, and I actually think you probably will remember because I talked to you about it like 3 weeks ago. But there a couple of years ago when I was doing Sideshow pretty heavily, I had hired Zed, and that was when Bill was out on tour or whatever.
Yeah.
And-
it was
And then it was the Sideshow, and then I had Eddie Price from Thempires. You may have played with him with like the After Darks,
Yeah, I don't know.
and him, but he was really. It was all just a big grift to get Eddie Price in because I loved his music so much, and he came in. It was great, and Zed was great.
Where was it at?
The Village Theater.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was.
really?
It was before Matt Moody. I don't know if he owns it or what, but it was before he was really involved that I see.
Sure.
And the lady was like, "Yeah, we have speakers and stuff," and I didn't know nothing about putting on a show. And I get there, and she had like a wireless mic or two,
Yeah.
and then like big like play speakers for. And I was like, and I think you guys showed up, and you're like, "We can't do that."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh no!" And so I ran here, and it was before I had the bigger speakers, and I just like grabbed all my equipment,
Everything you own.
every single thing I owned, and it was like nothing compared to what you needed.
I think we maybe went back, got some of our stuff too,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah,
and-
maybe.
And
But we really put that one together. Like,
yeah,
It's
it-
like 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
no, it was 5 years ago.
Oh,
maybe.
no, because Bill. Yeah,
yeah,
no.
it's
been a
longer
while.
than that?
I bet you it's way longer than you think.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
damn.
gonna agree with Mark on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what 23. So
This is-
it could have
Maybe
been 10.
10?
It could have been.
Damn, that's
you know,
crazy.
because we were without Bill for a while. So and then we were not anything for a couple years after that. So then we've been with Bill again now for 5 years or whatever. So yeah, I bet it's a little longer than you think. Have some of that. Yeah, and you wouldn't by chance have still have a flyer of that, would you?
Collector.
Yeah, I do. I do keep I try to keep a flyer in my book for as many shows.
I will check. We have a big book of flyers.
Okay.
Best Matt can do is a link to the Facebook group invite.
Yeah.
Facebook,
MySpace.
Facebook event.
It was probably MySpace then.
Well, I don't have a cup now.
I'm sorry.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Did you have anything, Dave? I feel like I'm getting all the and Motormouth Mark's over here.
I like that.
He's spilling his
Motormouth
guts.
Well, he's got to see. I knew Mark would be a far more interesting guest. I'm just here because it's my annual obligation.
Moral support.
Like every year around this time, I show up to the Blue Ribbon Lounge to talk into a microphone.
Yeah, we didn't
Whether
even have
the
to.
people want to hear it or not.
We didn't even have to invite him. He just kind of smells when it's time.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
deer in mating season.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Dave gets into the rut every time it gets
yeah,
close to the end of the
I gotta
year.
go.
I message Coretti once a year and was like, "Hey man, what's going on?"
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, just leave it open ended.
So yeah, we're back at it. We just did the CD release party, and
Which is a good album. I should let Dave borrow it for not copyright infringement.
exactly.
things.
We'll have to hunt you down and have Lars sue you.
It is on Spotify.
Is it?
on
Oh,
all,
is it
yeah.
really?
Oh, yeah, we
yeah,
can get it.
yeah. It's all on the all the streaming services.
Oh, I'll check it out on YouTube is what I like to use.
I don't know if it's on there yet.
YouTube,
What the
YouTube Music maybe, I don't know, but like you just like straight up YouTube.
That's what I do.
Yeah, someone's got to do that.
Yeah,
Would
we're a
you
little
do that for us?
I can
Yeah.
do that for you.
Okay, cool. Can you do it pretty soon?
Yeah, can you get that going tonight?
Yeah, I mean, like
We've had a rough couple months of doing nothing.
Well,
Could
so
we just
This won't come out for another 3 weeks, so I got
can we
that
just
much
hit
time.
pause and we could just knock that out real quick?
So yeah, we're ready to get back at it. We've been kind of down for a couple of weeks with Dave getting married.
Oh,
and-
congratulations,
Yeah.
Hollywood
Thank you.
Dave.
Yeah.
Hollywood Abbey.
So
Hollywood Abbey.
how are things going? She had enough of you yet and ready to move on?
We seem to be existing like we did before. It's weird, right?
Has it worn off yet or anything? And she's ready to move on?
No.
Not yet?
For some reason, I think she actually enjoys my company.
What?
It's really weird. I know.
That doesn't sound right.
I know.
Okay, well,
I don't know.
I think a lot less of her already.
I know. She's a wonderful person. You shouldn't, because do not let my shortcomings,
Dave's ruining her for
Yeah,
as much as
yeah.
she needs.
Don't let that ruin what you think about her, because you know me.
Okay,
That's yeah.
I'll just say okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you point at me. So do you guys have like a manager? How do you do gigs? Like,
Bill.
just like
Bill is a man.
Thank you, Bill, for doing all this.
He
Right.
does. I think.
Well, maybe you can give a little insight to the band first, because Bill and then
So, kind of our genesis.
The other one.
started.
John.
John Couch. He's a bass. Bill.
He's a bass
Litters.
John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, he's based John.
We kind of started out as a kind of a hardcore band, hardcore punk band called Pusser.
That's like one of the few bands that I knew you from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
so
I remember seeing that band, Beer Stew.
Yeah.
What was one of the fests they did down there
Yeah.
like 15 years ago? It was one of my first standard shows. Buster played in the middle of the afternoon.
yeah.
Because that's one of the first times I ever saw Sean.
Okay.
And I remember, like, because most of the drummers that day were playing on these giant piles of garbage and these broken cymbals, right? I was like, what is going on today? Like, what are we doing? And then Sean, like, okay. And he was my favorite drummer of the day that day.
Yeah. He was. He's a interesting.
Yeah, it was
Unique drummer for sure, and so anyway, they had a band called Under the Knife, which was Bill, Sean, and John, and I was in a Ramones tribute band playing guitar.
What did everybody play in that band? What did Bill? Well, I guess maybe what did Bill play?
The Bill's guitar,
Okay.
and then Sean and John.
I guess
bass
that's
and
what I
drums. Yeah.
expected.
So, Blitzkrieg Brats was my Ramones band, and we had a show, and those guys, as Under the Knife, played with us, and I said, oh man, this is right up my alley, and if you guys need a second guitar player, I'm in. So they're like, hell yeah, let's do it. And so I was in, and we changed the name. There was already, I don't remember what the name issue was. We changed to Pusser, which was a reference to Buford T. Pusser, the cop from, I don't even remember what state it was. Are you familiar with the Pusser movie or anything like
No.
that? Walking Tall.
Walking Tall, okay.
Yeah, so that's Buford T. Pusser. He was
Okay.
he was a guy that delivered justice with a 2x4. You know. So anyway, that was that, and so we did that for a couple of years, and kind of decided we've kind of ran our course with the hardcore stuff, and when we kind of Bill always kind of they had done some street rock stuff and some other things, and kind of wanted to do a psychobilly thing, or whatever it was going to be that we do, because we all kind of do a different thing. I'm a metal dude, punk rock and stuff, and those guys are too. So it's like, well, how would these guys write psychobilly or rockabilly, so we've been doing that since probably 2009 or something like that.
You know what? You kind of bring up. You all came from kind of different genres. Me and the wife were down here listening to, in the fabulous Blue Ribbon Lounge, we were listening to...
The newly rearranged.
It's remodeled.
We had put on, like, The Used or My Chemical Romance or something. And she was like, wait a second. And maybe she already knew. And then she put on a Megadeth song. And I don't know the two songs. And they were like, the intros were almost identical.
Oh, that's funny.
And it must have been like the guitar player for The Used must have just been a huge metalhead. And that's how genres get born.
Yeah, it is, because like I said, I would be, as a kid, into Kiss and Nugent and AC/DC and Thin Lizzy, and then, progress up to the next whatever it was, Motorhead, Scorpions, Priest, Maiden, Dokken and Rat, and, kind of all that early metal stuff. And then, Metallica and Slayer and all that stuff. And so... and punk rock, tons of Ramones and things like that, So I kind of do all that, and then Bill kind of does what he does, and John's, we all kind of have a similar background. Sean was a little more old school punk stuff, and that was kind of his lane. But so we all kind of do our thing, and you could probably tell some of those influences from one song to the next as to where that came from or who wrote it. My stuff sounds different than Bill's, and John sounds different than mine, but it all works, I think, and Dave probably doesn't really come from the world we do, but, so he kind of brings a whole different feel to things, a lot different than Sean did. Some of it is better because some of our things lacked nuance sometimes because we were pretty balls out, so Dave can kind of speak a little bit to how he feels fitting into something that's maybe different than what he's used to. I mean,
I play in an instrumental surf band, right? And I excuse me, never listened to instrumental surf that much, right? So when Scotty's like, hey, you should be in the One Night Standards, I'm like, I don't really know anything about that. What are we doing, but here I am 15 years later. So, and obviously just being in the...
Playing one show a year.
Well, now. Well, yeah.
But they were. You guys were pretty busy.
Yeah,
and
we
I will
were pretty
say
busy. But then you start playing with other surf bands and rockabilly bands and psychobilly bands, and you start to kind of get immersed in the scene a little bit more. Because everybody, like, I was always into Reverend Horton Heat and all that stuff too. But that's just kind of like... That's kind of like
surface level.
Yeah. That's
type
the
stuff.
easiest. Yeah, that's your easy entry, right? That's how you. Get
Reverend
it.
Horton Heat had a song on
Reverend Horton
Guitar
is the
Hero.
gateway drug into. He's the gateway.
Yeah.
Into that. So that, I mean it. The stuff that I listen to versus the stuff that I play. Pretty different, right?
Yeah.
But it's great as a musician, and it's good for my chops, and it's fun to just be creative no matter what we're doing, right? So.
Yeah, it's different for us, and but it's been fun too to kind of re-examine what we've been doing for 15 years or whatever it's been, so it's really brought a new life to old songs. So it's been fun to do on a lousy reason in a way, with Sean's passing and whatnot, and
so these guys, they knocked out the CD that's out there now, right? So it's out there, it exists, it's on all the streaming services. Sean played on it.
Another album you don't play on.
Correct.
What's the name of the album?
it's called Wrecking Machine.
I'm glad you didn't ask me, Dave. Yes,
you didn't play on
yes,
it, so.
the ZED album.
Yes, the ZED album.
So just watching these guys,
Too much.
No, that's fine. That's a normal. That's a normal pour of whiskey. That's a normal pour. You're okay.
It's only like 2 fingers, right?
Yeah, you'll be fine. Now we got to start all over. I don't even know.
Edit that out.
Yeah.
Just Sean recording the drum.
Oh,
or, you know.
Yeah. So as these guys finished up, right, getting
And so,
that out.
had you been playing next to these guys with like the After Darks?
Of course, yeah, of course.
Yeah, we would have been
Yep.
doing that.
Lots of shows because again, there's only a handful.
Or
of,
the
standards, the After
or-
Darks, right?
yeah.
I mean, the Crank Daddies. There's a
Yeah.
handful of rockabilly, psychobilly bands that would come through here, right?
Check out all those bands if you're
Yeah.
listening.
Oh, you say yeah. I miss those Crank Daddies. I haven't seen those.
They were
been
just here a couple of months ago.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
I
like
missed them.
Yeah, I can't remember something was going on that night, but yeah. Anyway, so I think for these guys, for the rest of the guys in Zed, like getting that record finished and out there, it's an important part of the band's history, right? Because again, it's Sean playing on it. These songs have existed. They've been. I learned them. We play them.
Yeah.
I learned
But
it. We
it's
play 'em.
yeah, but it's now like I'm looking forward to like what I want to be creative with these guys.
Yeah.
right? So that's and I feel like you guys are ready to be creative.
Yeah, we're
right?
ready to move on. You know, what was good about the last year or whatever it's been with Dave learning these songs is that we've been able to reevaluate them and let Dave. You know, we want Dave to take ownership of the songs because he doesn't play like Sean. You know, so that leads us to do things differently. You know, so we can kind of try things different. You know, and which has been fun. You know, it's been cool. You know, but we're ready to write things that now Dave. It's part of now. This is his thing too, you know. So
I can't use the excuse anymore after that. I didn't write this. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I don't know. Are
yeah. So
What are you, like 50 years old joining a band?
you talking to Mark? Or are you talking to me?
You. Like, what's it like joining a new energetic band?
Well, you know what?
You
so
know,
it's
after being in bands before, but
yeah, no. So it was kind of interesting because you made a joke about the One Night Standers only playing one show a year, right? And so and when Mark reached out to me, it was, I mean, what 2020? I'm almost 2 years in now. I think at this point,
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
2021. Yeah. So coming out of pandemic, right? And I was such a lazy drummer during the pandemic. I don't know. I don't know how lazy you guys were just in general, but I was
think most people were, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and then I was working from home, so I just wore the same pair of like sweatpants and sweatshirt like monthly. And I would just buy a new pair, you know, on the first.
the ass wore out from the chair.
Yeah. So like I didn't have time to worry about drums or none of that stuff. So anyway, so when Mark reached out and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna audition some drummers," I'm like, "Yeah, you should totally get different drummers." Like, I don't know why you're calling me. I mean, this sounds great.
But we're looking for names. You know anybody?
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, those guys sound good. So yeah, no, but it was kind of perfect timing because some of my other bands had kind of fizzled out. So I was looking for something new. Like the One Night Standers will always be there, right? If you want to book the One Night Standers right now locally, we'll come play, we'll come play your gig, and even semi-locally.
And yeah, we never intended for him to not do that either. You know, I think.
Well, you know, it's just like Scotty has a beautiful daughter, and like life just changes things, right?
And
So
neither one of us were going to be that busy where we were going to, interfere with the other's schedule for the most part.
you guys sound like a swinger couple.
Yeah.
yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so they reached out and we got together and I had to you gave me 5 songs to learn, and I went through them, played. It was kind of like
He got through like one of them okay.
Yeah.
The rest was a disaster.
I got to the practice. That was step one. Like showing up for practice is important if you're going to be in a band.
Yeah.
Right? Showing up to that first practice mostly on time. Like I'm sure I was semi on time.
So he was in then. It didn't really matter what happened after that. He
I
showed up and
I showed up and I had drums.
Yeah.
Yep, he had a car. Nobody had to go get him.
Drums, car, job.
Yep. So he's in.
Yep. So yeah. So no,
It went well actually.
To your point though, man, it was great timing. I was ready to kind of do something else, and
Was it nice to be able to feel like I'm ready now?
Yeah,
I
it
had
was.
time away from it.
Well, I
and-
needed to start playing again, or like all
Or
the
die.
chops just like
Start to
fizzled
lose it.
off. Yeah, but it was also the first time that I was in a band with like guys that I wasn't like super close with. Like I had known Mark for years just from coming to gigs, right? But like we never really hung out outside of that setting. So it was So it was meeting, I mean, knowing Mark. I didn't know John, or I didn't really know Bill at all. I mean, I knew who they were just from because we did some ZED gigs over the years. But so that was something new too, right? Just like, new guys. And so I got new friends now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I have 3 friends. I'm up
Well,
to 0.
Just
Right.
couple.
I have their
Let's-
phone numbers so I
Yeah.
can call them. Then it counts as friends.
And we get a text, we ignore it, so
Yeah.
all's good. It's like, oh, it's
I'm-
Dave.
yeah, they block
I'm on a toilet. I don't have
they
time for
block
this.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's been awesome, and up onward and upward.
Yep.
So we're ready to do it.
Yeah.
So there you go. And are you? What do you got going?
I'm
wise for
busy.
anybody else?
Oh,
You got anything else going on?
Music wise,
Yeah.
So I've been playing drums with Steve Krug. So Steve's singer songwriter in town. I played with him in the Last Glimpse for 10 years, 9 years, 8 years, something like that. So he's been wanting to do some of his own songs. So yeah, so we do that. We played Alternating Currents last year, which again, I feel like every year maybe when I do this podcast, I always talk about alternating currents, but like if you live in the Quad Cities or even just enjoy live music, like I think it's one of the coolest things Davenport has going right now. It's usually in August, 2 days, music, art, film, stand up,
Comedy.
yeah. So it is just super cool. It's I think there was close to 10 stages last year of music alone. And it's got everything. It's cool. So anyway, so we played that last year. That was kind of our first gig. And then so we'll be hopefully doing some songs, playing some gigs here and there.
How did you guys get that?
How do we get on Alternating Currents?
Yeah.
You just submit. They have open submissions, so yeah. Plus I'm, extremely popular.
As popular as Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's why they call you that.
Yeah, no.
You'll have that.
Yeah, you'll get that time to time.
So how long have you guys been playing music? Like from like 5 years old, 10, 12?
I started in 6th grade, I think it was, when you started elementary school band.
Oh, okay.
So I was straight up. I don't know if I told this one a couple of you, but I wanted to be a trumpet player when I was a kid. My dad was a trumpet player in the Army. He got to play taps at Wrigley Field on Memorial Day in like the
that's
late
crazy.
60s when he was still in the service. So like Memorial Day, Wrigley Field, played taps. I think it was 1968. And every Cubs game we go to now, he always points at the door. That's the door I walked out of. I'm like, yes, I've heard that
Every time.
Yeah, but it's so awesome. He got an autographed baseball from the entire team that year. So yeah, when I was a kid, I really wanted to be a trumpet player, right? And I don't know why. I don't know what I would have done with that. But so when it was time to like pick your instruments that day, they hand you a mouthpiece and then you gotta blow into your mouthpiece, and they said, no, your embouchure's terrible. Your lips are too big, essentially. You want to play something else?
I can see that.
I know,
now that you
and my
say it.
embouchure's awful. And then
We make fun of you behind your back about it.
about my embouchure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
But your big lips.
And embouchure. So they're like, do you want to try something else? I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'll play drums. I'll try drums, right? And I got sent home with a snare drum that day.
and your
that
parents
was it.
are like, "Oh my god!"
You
What
know
school was this?
Riverdale in Port Byron. So God bless my parents for allowing me to play drums, because shortly after that, like I bought my first drum set, which I still have, which is the practice kit.
Is it really?
That's that kid over at the ZED practice spot is my very first drum set I bought. I had to withdraw from my savings account, and my mom made me pay it back. Like she wrote I had like $10 and I don't know if I ever paid myself back, but it doesn't matter. But so God bless them.
Was
for
that
letting me
hard
play
to do,
drums.
to keep that one kit?
To pay myself
for your-
back to
No.
find yes, I was like 6th grade. I don't have a job.
to keep that one kit for so long.
Yeah, because I hated it when I was a
and
kid.
it's like a big thing you shove in the corner.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a 69 Ludwig kit, like Silver Sparkle, which I love it now, right? But like junior high me,
That's that whole going back to records or CDs or
like
whatever.
Junior high me was watching MTV, and I'm looking at Lars, and I'm like, I want that big double bass Tamer kit. Like, I want this big giant drum kit, right? I don't want this weird sparkle thing, right?
Yeah.
It just didn't seem cool, and now it's super cool, right? I'm glad I held on to it.
And you even had a gold one, gold sparkle one built.
I do.
Or orange, I guess.
Yeah, we call it the gold sparkle. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, now I'm super into the sparkles apparently. So yeah, that's how I became a drummer. I was like, I wanted to be a trumpet player. They said no. I said okay. I guess I'll play drums. And
the one night standards with a trumpet. Now I can see that.
There's a trumpet in Miserloo.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Sure.
I mean, I could have been in a ska band, right? I could have.
Yeah.
There's a lot of demand for that.
Yeah.
So
says the guys in the Psychobilly band, right?
Right, yeah. 3 gigs a year.
Yeah,
We're killing it.
Yeah.
So you're taught like through school how to play drums?
Yeah, so I took lessons, and I took private lessons from Terry Hansen, local drummer. And Terry probably taught who knows how many drummers my age that he taught over
Up
the
at
years.
McKay's
and Moline. Yeah, McKay's and Moline. And I took lessons from him starting in probably 8th grade.
Would that
high
be right
school.
over here?
23rd Avenue,
Yeah.
right across from where the
Yeah.
God, all that stuff is different now. But 23rd Avenue, 25th Street. There's that Mother Hubbard's. It would have been. I didn't.
Yeah.
It's
the
like
building's still
a
there.
block or two down from Hafner's, probably.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
they
the
were
building's
on
right there.
They were on one side of the street at one point. They were
Yep.
on another side earlier, I think,
Yeah.
and stuff. When I was a kid.
Yeah, so Terry taught me, and eventually, like by the time it got to the point where I wasn't really like he would assign me some homework essentially, right, and I wouldn't do it, and we'd come back, and we used to spend like the first 10 minutes of the half-hour lesson just shooting the shit, just talking, right? And then
As
he's
he's
like,
collecting that.
That's how most
sweet,
lessons.
sweet
and
lesson money.
So then he was like, okay, what'd you work on? And I play the beat wrong. You're like, okay, you didn't work on it. And then we'd work through it. And then eventually he was just like, you just got to get in a band, right? You just got to get in a band. I'm like, okay, let's do that, right? And there was some kids taking lessons down the guitar players taking lessons, and he's like, I'm going to give him your number. I'm like, cool, do that. And these guys called up and like, hey, we heard you're a drummer. I'm a guitar player. I'm like, okay, cool. What do you guys do? And like, we want to do a bunch of Rush tunes. I'm like, click. Like, no, not your guy there, man. I got a 4-piece Ludwig Silver Sparkle, right? We're not doing. I'm not playing Tom Sawyer on this thing, right? So, and then I didn't really play in bands until I was in a band when I was like 19 with some old dudes, like some cover tunes. But it wasn't until like my mid-20s that I started playing with Joel Rose a lot and started bands, And I met other musicians because there weren't a ton of musicians out there in Port Byron back then, right?
There wasn't a ton of anything in Port Byron.
No, we had Casey's.
And have you guys been playing together for long, or was it really just like the After Dark ZED that brought you together? Or
With Mark and I?
yeah.
Oh, it was,
How often did you cross paths,
Well,
band-wise, or I guess anything-wise?
there was a lot of gigs together, probably, right? There was
Yeah.
a lot of ZED, After Dark, One Night Standards gigs, or
Yeah, we would have been playing, with after darks or standards, probably before Dave was in either one of those, So,
And I remember seeing you in the Ramones band. I remember, like we talked about Pusser earlier.
yeah.
What was the band with Chuck Murphy?
Skin Tight.
Skin
probably,
Tight.
yeah.
I think you played with like my brother. My brother was an Officer 27 back then.
Okay.
So I remember. Yeah. So I
You have
remember.
a brother?
I do have a brother.
Never knew that. 2 whole episodes went by before I found out you had a brother.
Yeah. I got a brother named Matt. Yeah.
Oh, sounds like a
Bass
good
player.
guy.
He's a bass player
Oh.
too. He was in. So he was in local bands, and he chased the dream. He moved out to Arizona to
Really?
chase the dream. Yeah. Yeah.
So then what would you say your style is? Because I know there's like jazz style and then like...
I mean, I feel like I'm a straight up rock drummer. Like, I mean, that's kind of I love to listen to like the progressive. We were talking about the favorite albums earlier. I'm a Tool fan.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing Danny Carey stuff, right? Like I'm a rock drummer. You know? And I think that's some of my favorite drummers have always been just like Dave Grohl, like just a hard hitting like rock drummer, man. So I'm a rock drummer. Mark, am I a rock drummer?
Well, let's not go that far.
Yeah. Hey-o.
Oh.
What would you say your style is? I mean, because obviously you're playing.
Thrash.
Yeah.
Well,
metal
you know,
What's your origin story?
my origin story is I probably my thing as a kid in grade school would have been Kiss. Kiss was my first concert as a kid was Kiss in Chicago for Love Gun Tour in 1978.
I have to interject. And I saw you were in a band. I creeped on your YouTube. Saw you were in. God damn, I'm forgetting now. Oh, with Knucklehead with Les Gibson. Mm-hmm. Did you have anything to do with King's Kiss?
So, sort of.
Okay.
So Knucklehead was with Mike Mudd, as a matter of fact. So we were just kind of a cover original band. We had our own songs. We did our own CD, and so we would do bars. So our sets would be originals and covers. Godsmack and classic rock, Kiss and Nugent and Cooper and that kind of stuff. And then we eventually got to a point where it's like we were all big Kiss fans. There's 5 of us, so that doesn't work. What are we going to do with the 5th guy? So we started kind of mixing up an Elvis Kiss set for our 3rd set.
Yeah.
And so Les was the Elvis guy, and the rest of us were Kiss guys, and it was really bad homemade costumes, and it was supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be kind of a rip, just a humorous thing, not very serious, because we had a bad Elvis guy doing some Elvis songs, singing Kiss songs, and
Yeah.
So, and that would be our 3rd set. We would do 2 sets of just regular stuff, and then take a break and come out and all this stupid shit, and we'd have fun doing this whole thing, the whole Kiss Elvis thing. So,
Was it kind of like the Metallica, where they come out with Coors Lights boxes strapped to them to look like Kiss?
yeah, it was bad. Like Lyle, our guitar player, had like an airbrushed Paul Stanley shirt with hair and like skin, and like you have to see it, but and then we would just homemade make everything, and then we didn't really want to put makeup on and stuff because that would take forever and it's hard to do. So we had like masks that were painted with like the mouths cut out and then put some makeup on. So you could just slap a mask on, do a little makeup, and put the rest of your garbage on and go. So that was the beginning of King's Kiss, and several of the guys kind of wanted to stop doing the Knucklehead thing and just concentrate on doing the Kiss thing. And as much as I love Kiss, I didn't really just want to do that.
Yeah.
I loved what we did as Knucklehead. It gave us an identity. We wrote some really good metal songs. We had a good CD, and I loved playing those things, and I loved doing our Kiss set, and sometimes that's the only set we would do, would be just the Kiss set. And other times we just do both, and it was like the perfect thing, it was everything wrapped into one night, and then those guys wanted to do the Kiss thing and take it to another level. The costumes got very serious, and the show got very serious, and they did well with it, and I'm kind of glad I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't want to do that.
As a big Kiss fan, did you just not want to do like a Kiss tribute, like where you didn't want to play those songs?
I don't know. I just didn't want to be that serious about it.
Yeah,
because it was just like going to kind of take all the fun out, and it was just
sure.
Got to have the makeup perfect.
The hassle of it was just, I can't imagine the hassle of trying to put a gig together and putting all that crap on.
Wearing a shirt and tie for the one night stands, I feel like it's a tremendous hassle, right? Like alone, I got to find my tie once a year.
Right.
I can't imagine I got to find my makeup and my costume.
And I didn't want to just deal with that. And just, like I said, the costumes got serious. And when you start getting into serious costumes, you're talking spending some money, and doing all that stuff. And, and the guy they got to play Gene, I was a Gene guy. I didn't really sing Gene songs or anything, and this other guy just did it better. And it's like, it whatever happened, and it was better for the way they did it. And I'm just it just wasn't going to work for me, and I'm kind of moved on, and so that's what happened there.
Perfect.
So yeah, they did well with it. They played some big gigs. They used to do a lot of the Sturgis on the River gigs, headline some
I
of that
saw
stuff.
him down there. I did a Sanders gig down there. And so
and they had a lot of fun with it. It was a good show, and they brought in other people and stuff, and it was a pretty decent production, So I can't bag on them for that. I just was really disappointed that we were giving up, the identity of
Knucklehead
writing our own songs.
Yeah,
and,
but
doing
that's
our
what it
own
is, right? It's about like, hey, I want to be an original
Yeah.
musician. I don't necessarily want to do a Kiss tribute, right?
And so it was kind of the best of both worlds at the time. And when half of that went away, it was just like, no, I'm ready to, I don't want to, really don't want to go that route.
Yeah, well, I used to work with, and Dave works with Les Goodson, and boy, is he a character.
Oh,
he's
God.
just a great guy.
Yeah, he is, and he's fun, and he was the perfect front guy for that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had a blast. We practiced at Les's house and
Was
stuff.
that Papa Bluewell?
So yeah, they did
The same guy, yeah.
They
Same guy,
did.
the same guy, okay.
Uncle Blue Whale.
Okay.
Uncle
Yeah,
Blue.
so
Yeah.
they did. It was kind of a blues rock band and
Yeah.
stuff, and so that was Dan and Les. I don't know if anybody else was from King's Kiss in there or not. Maybe the drummer was at one point.
And
but-
he talked about Knucklehead quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
whenever I would talk to him, and I saw that on your page. And I
Yeah.
just thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so there's I've got some videos, just audio videos up on YouTube of some handful of our songs and stuff, and I think it's a great record. I think it's a super solid record. It sounds good. The songs are really good, for what they are, and and it was just something I wanted to continue, and they didn't for whatever reason. Some of those songs were kind of old to them by then, but and I guess it ran its course for them, so I get it, but I just didn't really want to go any more further than that, but yeah, so I started, kind of raised on the flash and spectacle and Kiss like everybody else was in 1978 as a young kid,
I have a potential topic for a music podcast, right? And it's basically like,
Hard pass.
I don't
That's the
understand
next question.
Kiss. Why do you like Kiss? Who likes Kiss? I don't get it. That's the topic.
That's the topic.
Well, I don't understand it.
you had to
I don't understand it.
You had to live it
Because-
you,
I was 6,
It was anti-disco,
well,
right?
it was
except for the disco song.
Well, yeah.
yeah, right. So I would have gotten into them around like Halloween in 1976. They did a
Halloween.
Yeah.
well, only because Paul Lynde, a TV celebrity back then, had a Paul Lynde Halloween special in '76. Kiss was on it, and they were a
Like
perfect.
national celebrity Paul Lynde? Is that?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, he was on Hollywood Squares and all that stuff. Comedian.
Google that, would you? I don't know.
But
I'm not going to do that.
yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, it's just 1976. This is way before you people
Cut that.
were even.
I was born in 1976.
Were you really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you still had several years to figure all this out. But anyway, when you're 10 or 9 and you
Yeah.
see what, comic books are big for kids, right? Well, that's a living comic book
Yeah.
wrapped up in music, So if you were just getting into music, my first song that I really remember having a huge connection with was like LA Woman from the Doors, like my mom had the record, and this is 1973 or 4. I'm 7 or 6 or something. It was the first song I loved. I could tell you every lyric now from it because I loved it. And
How do you feel about the Billy Idol cover of it? Yeah, that's pretty awful. Yeah, all right, yeah, next.
But anyway, so I was already kind of on that scale of music is kind of already interest me, and then to see something like that, it's like, whoa, this is some crazy comic book come to life with fun
it's like
music.
mid '80s when I get into Kiss, right? And that was when did they take the makeup off? Around that time, right?
84,
Yeah, so it was around that
83.
time, right? Yeah.
somewhere thereabouts.
And as I got older, and this is what I always, and again, I'm not trying to bash Kiss, but I just like so many of my friends that are musicians, like Chicken Boy was super into Kiss too, right? Like I listen to, if I put a Kiss record on now, like I don't want to listen to this. Like
I said, you had to live it.
It's
You
the
had
show,
to,
right?
It had,
It was the show.
it had to be something that was a part of your life at the time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well,
And
to me, when I listen to Kiss, I'm like, Love Gun is a good tune. What's the Detroit Rock City's a good tune. It's very hit or miss with me.
Sure.
And like, those songs are really good, and sometimes I just want to listen to them, and then I put them on my YouTube, and then all of a sudden, like, I'm getting weird B-sides that I never heard of, and I'm like, this is too much, YouTube. You got to stop.
so, yeah, I mean, but
What do you think of the juxtaposition of the makeup and the visuals and the fire versus like the disco tune? Now, like, what do you think looking back on it?
you know, so being into them from a certain time, you either progress with them or you don't, you know, and you know, as like Dynasties, that's 1979 is the record you're talking about, you know, it's just like, okay, you know, you kind of already see this progression or whatever away from kind of what you liked, you know. It's like, oh, I like this crunchy hard rock stuff, and like, okay, this is more polished and you know, kind of not what I really like. There's some catchy stuff. It's okay.
I Was Made for Loving You.
Right.
Or whatever.
That's a good
That
tune.
was the hit, right?
Right, yeah.
It was on the Suck Off,
Yeah.
actually.
But that was a huge departure at the time, and
they were trying to adapt, right?
Yeah.
They were trying to like just keep their heads above
Right,
water. Like,
and-
okay, think the times are changing, right?
and they went from,
And it worked.
Well,
I mean,
to some extent.
to
you
some
know,
extent,
if you
it kept
were
them relevant, maybe. I don't know, like
to some extent,
because
you know,
then the
well-
makeup thing comes a few years later. So I feel like there was that time where, and again, I'm not a Kiss historian, but like Kiss explodes in the mid '70s, right? Let me see if I get this right, Mark. Kiss kind of explodes in the mid '70s, right? Cool makeup, cool songs, right? They're like,
hey,
oh,
you
crap.
said cool, not me.
Oh crap! Well, no, I use that term loosely. And then, oh crap, disco. We need to adapt. Oh crap, mid '80s. Like we're not as relevant. We need to take the makeup off. And then like late '80s, early '90s, the nostalgia kind of kicks in, right? And now they're just like the guys that were that were the 10-year-olds in the mid '70s are now 20s, 30s. We're like, I want to see Kiss again.
Yeah.
And then it just starts the whole thing, and then they just kind of never turn back, right?
right? Oh yeah, for sure. You know, they
Because there was a period where they were just kind of like, and like most of the bands in that time, like the late '80s, and when grunge shows up, right?
Yeah,
like
so-
all that stuff was nobody cared.
well,
Yeah,
you know,
take a
but it
back
was
seat.
nostalgia. Yeah, it was nostalgia that kept them
so
afloat.
grunge hit 92, 93. You know, Kiss had an album out in 92 called Revenge, which was kind of very heavy and grungier to some extent, and it was really good. You know, and then they had another record that followed that was even grungier than that. But it kind
What
of
are
got.
do you know those albums off the top of your head? Or
Yeah, that would have been Carnival of Souls, which they
Okay.
wound up releasing after they got back together with the original band to do the makeup thing. So it kind of got shelved, and it's like, well, we were going this direction, but man, we just hit this wall, and we're doing the makeup thing reunion with the original members, and that album died a slow death, you know. And maybe if you listen to that, and if you kind of dig grunge, you're gonna go, whoa. That's really cool. I had no idea they had that in them,
Yeah.
because every Kiss fan hates it, because
Yeah.
it's so different than what they've did in the past, you
Yeah.
know. But it was 1994 or 5 or whatever they were recording it, and of course, you know the landscape at that time was Soundgarden and stuff. All the songs are tuned down. It's heavier, the songs are grungier and darker, and
Chunkier.
and stuff. So, so, what's your question?
Why Kiss?
Oh,
no, that was
Yeah, no,
yeah.
Move that glass too close to the edge.
You sound like my father when I was a kid at the dinner table.
That is a valuable collectible.
Oh, now you're
Thank you.
asking to be broke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But, so anyway, that's kind of what got me into playing, because that was such a huge influence. And anybody that's my age would
Into playing guitar?
be in
Is that Ace Frehley?
music in
Were you a
general.
guitar
yeah,
player
okay.
before you were a bass player?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I did. So I started playing bass for Knucklehead, because this kind of even before Knucklehead. Before we were that, we kind of were a couple of different names before we decided on that. But actually, our our other bassist was Lonnie Tagg. Did you ever know Lonnie Tagg?
I don't think so.
He was killed in a motorcycle wreck a handful of years ago. But anyway, he left or whatever, and I was playing second guitar, and it's like, well, we don't have a bass player, so I think Dan, our other guitar player, had a bass, and it's like, okay, I'll do it until we find a bass player, and we never found a bass player, so I wound up being the bass player.
I feel like that's the story of a lot of bass players,
Yeah,
right?
Like,
well, I play guitar, and then we needed a bass player, and
so
everybody just looked at me, and I guess I'm the bass player now, and I never looked back.
So then I had to go buy bass guitars and bass gear, which I fucking hate.
It's a whole nother investment.
Yeah.
Well, that's like Tony Baloney from the After Darks.
Yeah.
He was in the Angsted,
Yeah.
and he was the bass player. And then they were like, "Oh, well, we don't have a drummer, so we need somebody to play drums."
Is that really?
And he sold everything, and now he's been a drummer for
Yeah.
years.
Well, he's awesome at it.
Yeah.
So I'm a terrible bass player because it's like, well, we need a bass player, and next practice I'm in. So it's like, well, I know the root notes of the songs we play on guitar. So
Yeah, I'm like, isn't it just you play this pretty much the same thing except just with your index finger?
I mean,
I always think it's different when you have like guys that were bass players from day one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Versus guitar players that were bass players.
Sure, because they learned the right way to do things generally.
But
you
also
know?
like a guitar player that plays bass sometimes.
Do you play anything else, Dave?
No, I'm a drummer. I tried to play trumpet. Remember?
follow along.
Do you play drums, Mark?
No, I always wanted to though. I love drums. I love a great drummer. I do.
So that's another thing that makes me mad is when like guitar players or bass players can sit behind the drum kit and be like a reasonable drummer. Right? Like, oh, dude, you just sat down. You just hear that. You just sat down and like did that. Like, good for you. Great. Oh, now you're playing guitar. Cool. Good for you. Right. Chicken Boy's one of those guys. Can do it all.
Yeah,
like, you know
I
what?
can see that.
You know what? I've had enough of it. All right. You pick your lane and stay in it. Okay. So because like we need everybody needs jobs.
So I'm going to set my drums up at home, and I'm going to lay out a weird ass, funky.
Just some
beat,
ridiculous
I'm
beat.
gonna come
that you're
over
gonna
there
bring
and
in
it's
like this. You
Hey,
play this.
hey, I got this new song. Can you play it like this?
Yep. Perfect. Get right on that.
But what was your? What were we?
Dave was saying something that I interrupted.
What was it?
It doesn't matter. Let's move on.
Yeah, I interjected about Kiss.
Let's get off that subject. Podcast Dave, do you have anything?
So then, what was your first band?
So my first band. So when I was learning guitar, I bailed on lessons pretty damn quick. So I am not a school lesson player.
Why
at all.
is that? You just like
I don't know. I think I at that point in my life I was a huge AC/DC fan, and I just loved hammering out AC/DC rhythms all day long.
and like your teacher wasn't teaching AC/DC tunes.
I didn't have a ton of lessons. I kind of started out, got some basics, and learned to play by ear from that point out.
Right.
And so my biggest regret is never really following up on scales and leads and things like that, because I just kind of followed in that rhythm path, and I just.
Then it's kind of true that like most musicians can't read sheet music.
Well, that's that would be a different question for every player, because it just kind of depends on what path they took,
Yeah,
So,
I could read some rhythm. Like
So-
you could,
Yeah.
it just kind of depends on
Well,
how
you played in school, so you had to use the sheet music.
correct,
Sure.
correct.
So I didn't. I think I got my first guitar in 5th grade, something like that, and subsequently probably took a couple year lessons or something, and that was basically just getting formations of chords and things down like that, and then for some reason I just dropped off and kind of never went to scales and leads and all that stuff, which I regret to this day, because I'm really not a lead guitar player in the true aspect of it. So there's a lot of things I don't know, and so I write leads around what I know, and that's limiting, and I totally get that. And if I was to have to do it all over again, I would totally go, all right, or tell somebody learn it just starting. It's like, these are the things you're gonna really want to concentrate on, because you're gonna really want to know these things later.
So it's like fundamentals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they probably absolutely are, and just for whatever reason I just stopped, and but anyway, so my first band I was in probably college or something like that, and we were just writing our own stupid songs. You know, it's called Arius, and I was
Sounds progressive.
No, it was like it was just a
it does.
very lame metal band doing, you know, since I wasn't really a learned guitar player, we would write our own stuff because we probably couldn't play others, you know. I wasn't going to rip out a bunch of Iron Maiden leads and things of that nature at the time. So I did what I knew how to do, and I would write a song around how I knew how to play, and that became Arius. And Mike Mudd, he was in my first band as a singer.
How many bands have you been in with old Mikey Mudd?
Knucklehead, Arius.
Over under 10.
Under 10.
Okay.
But, 5, or whatever.
Yeah.
But so was Arius. We did a demo cassette in 1987. We sold a bunch of those at co-ops and stuff. And then from that, I left that and went to a band called Distemper, which was actually pretty big for the time around here in like the hardcore punk scene at the time, which was pretty big in, say, 1987 to 89, something like that.
Who was in Distemper?
Well, it was Joe Vianney.
Yeah.
You know Joe.
Joe's the best.
Yeah, he was bass. Dave Bartlett and Manny Garcia, which was our drummer, guitar player, singer. They really kind of didn't do too much after that. But we had an offer to do a record. So we were in the process of doing a demo. We sent the demo out to somebody. They offered to do a record for us. We had to go back and record a handful of more songs and sent the contracts out and everything to us and stuff. And
so did you guys think did you think you were on the footsteps of not necessarily making it, because you're obviously playing a genre of music that isn't like
it was,
you're not going straight to MTV,
no,
right?
So
somebody wanted to make your records,
basically,
right? I mean that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The story was there was a metal label out at the time called New Renaissance, and they were kind of like a Metal Blade or something like that at the time in California. And so I sent them out the demo that we had, a 12-song demo, and she's like, "Yeah, this is good. We're kind of full right now, but I'm helping somebody start a new label that we would really like to have you on, but we need however many more songs or whatever time length they needed for a full record," which meant we had to go back in and do 5 or 6 more songs. So we went back in. They'd sent us out the contracts and stuff, and it was going to be something like we were going to provide them the songs and the master tape at our cost, and then they were going to print them up, print and press the records, and then I think the first 3,000 records that they sold, they got the full profits of to make their money back from the printings and pressings.
So you pay for the recording, right?
Yeah.
Where'd you record it? Locally here in the Quad Cities?
It was a guy named Jeff Shelton. He used to do some.
So you had to record outside of the demo.
Well, yes, we did the demo. We used most of that. I think we re-recorded a thing or two from it, and then 5 extra new songs at the time to make it. I think
get to the full length.
Yeah, it was a half an hour at most. I think
which
eventually,
is probably 15 songs and hardcore.
It's
right?
17. It was 17.
17
so
songs.
we had a 30-second one.
30 minutes of music.
We had a 5-second one. So we recorded those, and we sent the master tape to California, and it's like we didn't sign the contracts yet because I sent the masters out to make sure that it was okay, is this good enough? Because if they said no, they were going to send it back, and we would have been on the hook with signed contracts to re-record something. It's like we were nobodies. We didn't have any money.
Yeah.
It's like we can't go back in and.
How old would you have been?
We would have been. So this is 1987. So I'm 20.
Early 20s.
Okay.
So. We didn't have a lot of money. We're playing in shows around here for free or next to nothing.
Yeah.
We're just a hardcore punk band. And so we sent the masters out there, waited for them to give us some sort of confirmation that they were good enough to print or to press, and we just never heard back. And
Oh.
yeah, so the label never got off the ground.
Speaking of waiting at the mailbox,
Yeah.
right?
It was
you're getting all these letters from Kerry King, and
yeah,
like,
and
he's
that's
writing
the
you
thing,
back.
you
You're
know,
like, where's
you
my
didn't-
label?
Right, you didn't have emails and stuff where you could communicate with people, left and easily, but every day, multiple times a day, unless you were phoning, and that was a hassle, and long distance and stuff. And so, whatever reason, this never happened. So we just wound up just putting a demo tape out around here and sold a bunch of stuff, and then we broke up. So
Yeah, record
So,
the record.
yeah.
break up.
Right.
Which is the local band. the local band too.
our singer, we were just at that age where our singer wound up going to college down in Bloomington, I think, or Normal, or Carbondale or something. So he went off to college, and we just kind of that age where you're separate and you go your way, and
Is that the closest to being signed?
oh yeah,
right.
for sure, and then out of that band, Joe and I had Buttlint, which
it's a good band name.
name, yeah.
well, that's a whole nother story in itself, which is kind of funny. But so I was working at the radio station at the time, and we had our morning show, Ian Case and the Coach, and so right in the middle of the distemper breakup and us forming this new band, which was unnamed at the time.
I forgot about Ian Case and the
Yeah, so he goes, "Hey, let's name the band with the listener contest on the radio."
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. So he goes, "Yeah." And so we're like, "Oh God, this sounds terrible."
Yeah.
He goes, "You just have to do one gig. I'll come and sing a song or two with you, and then you can rename whatever you want."
Booty McBoatface.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
It's a modern day internet poll.
So
but,
that's
like,
how we wound up with Buttlin, which is the same difference as McBoatface or whatever.
That's great.
But then it's like, well, we're a punk band with that.
Yeah.
That totally works.
And Lint is spelled like L-Y-N-T,
right? Yeah, so it was with some umlauts.
So was that part of the, like, whoever called in and said, like, you guys should be called Buttlint, but spell it L-Y-N-T.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We probably did that,
Okay.
But so the thing was, Ian was going to come and sing. I think we picked "Free for All" or something from Ted Nugent. Some weird classic rock song. So he came out in his little sweater vest and sang.
Yeah.
We had like a complete sold out Coal Valley VFW hall. It was insane, man.
Yeah.
Because we had all this radio public,
Sure,
publicity and
publicity,
stuff,
yeah.
and they were really big at the time. So, they were talking about that, and he came out and did the show, and it was crazy, 300 people or something, asses to elbows in there, and totally crazy, stage diving and stuff, and so we kept that. We did that for like a year, and then it kind of went its way.
And you guys did a reunion not that long ago, right?
We did a reunion like 2014. We played with DRI at Ribco, which was kind of a big deal,
Are you guys sad that Ribco is closing, or are they not?
Yeah,
really
you know what? That's a good
It's
topic.
it's a historical venue around here. Although it kind of
Is that on the list, Matt? Was Ribco closing on the list?
Yeah, I just crossed it off.
Nice.
Well, did it kind of, as a layman, it seemed like it kind of started to go downhill a little bit. Because
I don't. Yeah,
like, with
Depends
people
on
that
who was booking, right?
Yeah.
So, like in the
Right.
late '90s, late '90s, it was always kind of hippie band stuff, and then 2000s, and then mid 2000s. I mean, I saw Helmet, one of my favorite bands, for the first time there, right?
Yeah.
Fishbone. So you would see a lot of these. Yeah, Clutch.
Yeah.
Like, so a lot of these bands that
yeah.
were kind of coming back, I was making fun of Kiss and the Nostalgia Tour, but like I saw Helmet when they're on their Nostalgia Tour, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Ribco was a pretty special place for the Quad Cities, I think, as far as especially from. I mean,
Did they ever
midnight-
brew their own beer?
no.
wasn't it an actual brewery like a long time ago, maybe, or was it just
Longer
always a
than
show?
when you guys have been seeing shows there?
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
no, it was definitely as long as I was alive.
Yeah, it was just that in name, I think.
Okay. So Scott Houghton and I have a bet because we're like, how fast is somebody else going to open that place up, right? Like, because it's going to be sitting there ready to
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a it's a cool room.
Yeah, it is.
And it's a cool stage, and I think the PA stays with it. Like, it's ready to go.
It is. It's a.
So when so when Matt and
Do you
Dave,
think it
guys
really
are
is
ready-
cool? Outside of the nostalgia?
Yeah, I think
it absolutely can be. I think
It's a good venue space.
it's a fantastic venue space, and I think
it's the size. It's the size.
There's no like back room.
Well,
you got.
I mean,
there's certainly setup issues. It's a very small
it's a
stage.
club that size, though.
you know?
I mean, that's what you get, right? Like, I don't know.
I
Like,
remember
what do you want? Like this lavish green room? Like,
That's
remember-
what I need.
yeah.
us buttlet guys trying to cram all our shit on stage, and it was tough, and we're nobody, but I think it's and I don't know how far you want to get into when you think
Deep.
Okay, well,
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I'll say that once Jason Paris stopped booking there, it really
That's what I was scoffing at.
Yeah, that's what
and
he
he's
was scoffing
and,
at, yeah.
and then he's got his own stuff
Sure.
right now that we're not going to get into.
right.
but-
So, but he absolutely brought in fantastic shows there.
Yeah,
You
the
know?
one
So-
thing I don't always think about it. I think about it probably once every 2 months. But Nick Horan played
Yep.
there,
I opened that gig.
and I don't know what I was doing. I don't even know if I was of age.
Were you? Oh,
But I was there like a week or two after.
yep.
And saw that, and I didn't know who he was at the time.
I didn't either, and I opened the gig. Right?
Yeah,
You know.
and I was just like, I was just like, damn, I missed this show. I go out and I find his music, and I'm like, fuck, I missed something cool. A year or two later, he dies
Yep.
because I'm into him,
Yep.
and he dies, and I'm like, wow, and like that's like one of the biggest
Yep.
regrets I really have.
And that was that's one of the things too. Like, so Raccoon's trying to do like shows all throughout the week, right? And it's tough to get people out on
Yeah.
a Tuesday. I'm not going out on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now, unless it's somebody. And I feel like that Nick Horan show was like a Monday or something, or a Wednesday, right? And it was a tough sell. But that was also when like rockabilly, like that's when the After Darks were kind of like kings of the town around here too, right? Like when they did that CD release at Rascals and just packed the whole place, asses to elbows. Like, I've never seen so many people in Rascals in my life, right?
and it was like before it was redone, and it was like all brick.
It was on the bar side of
Bar-side,
Rascals.
yeah.
Yeah, it was bar side of Rascals.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of The End Is Nigh.
Yeah, no, this is
Oh,
bar
okay.
side of
Yeah,
Rascals.
okay.
Right? Yeah. So, right. So, back to Ripco, like when they stopped doing jam bands, I felt like in the '90s it was always a jam band. It was like it's where the Schwag,
Yeah.
and where what was some of the other bands that we always saw there all the time, right? And it changed up a little bit. But to your question, like, was Ripco cool? I think like for a
Was
club
it a
that's
good venue?
I'm gonna say yeah. Like,
it had that
for
cool,
a club
you know,
that size, man.
that,
Yeah, the
balcony is
spot.
cool.
Well,
Yeah.
and you know what? I never
Where
went up to the
else-
balcony, but for like 2 times, and it was actually
where
nice
else?
up there.
Where else? Like, what other venue that size was getting bands like that? You know,
Well, is that
That's
the
the
booker or the venue? Come on now, that's an easy. you
well,
know.
okay. Is it easy? Is it? I mean,
We
Yeah.
didn't have a lot of options like that,
yeah. It is nostalgic, right? There's a lot of nostalgia. You're right.
And maybe there's a
of
lot.
nostalgia.
There's a lot to be able to separate from that. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say
There's 1,000 places that could have tried to be Ripco, and they never. Could
well,
do
and
that.
it had to do with where it was at. The district was pretty big.
The district was important then.
It got less important. Not a lot goes down there, or
Correct.
it's stuff you don't want to be involved with.
So that's
or
the
it got
question now.
dangerous.
That's
you
the
know?
question now is Rip, like, whoever, because I feel like somebody's gonna buy that place and
Yeah.
do it again. Like,
But is it too late?
I don't know.
Well, they
Right.
don't do like Rock the District or
Oh,
anything anymore,
No,
do they?
I gotta-
I don't. I think pandemic might have killed that, and
Okay.
and Dak Factory is out of there, right? So Dak Factory was big into. They were the ones that did Rock the District. I
Okay.
feel like,
Doing
right?
the
And they're over
festivals
in
and stuff.
Davenport, and and they got the Rust Belt. Like Dak Factory is all over the Rust Belt now.
Oh, okay. And that one's getting a lot of good bands coming through.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
It could
probably.
be better. I feel like the Rust Belt could be better, but that's a whole nother thing, right?
Yeah,
I don't love the setup there.
I don't either.
I don't really want to.
The Rust Belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bad venue, but I was talking to Chicken Boy, and I don't think he would I don't think he would sugarcoat things for me, but he was like, as long as the venue is packed, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Because it's like cavernous, right?
Or if it's not packed and you're up close, right?
I was going to say, it doesn't seem like it's very concert-going friendly. Nice.
Yeah.
Also-
I'll get that for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Even though your logo and nothing is on there.
That's all right. We're on there, right? As a band,
It
right?
says ZED,
That's
yeah.
That's all that matters.
Here's my complaint about the Rust Belt and even Raccoon Motel and just modern day concert goers, right? Why do people go to shows and talk the entire time? Like, and if you're listening right now and you're one of those people, why do you do that?
It's for the sync.
Leave it
It's for
in the comments.
It's for the Insta.
Yeah, leave it in the comments.
You got to do it for your social media.
But it's just like, I mean, I at the old Raccoon location, which is even smaller now, it's currently Devon's complaint department, I believe, right? Smaller. And I get it. You had to order your drink from the bar. Okay, I need give me 2 Miller Lights, please. Okay, talk. That's fine.
Maybe
But
it's
just
the
generally
wives
just
or the
hang-
husbands or
Just
something.
generally hanging out while the band is playing and just like talking about your day, right?
No, that's what between setup and stuff.
Yeah, there's plenty
for-
of time for all that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
In Rust Belt, like Bon Iver, like pretty chill, quiet, like indie show at the Rust Belt, and people went shut the F up, man.
Yeah,
Jeez.
that would be
I don't get
annoying.
it. I don't
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
I've even seen it out at the barn at the at Codfish, right? Like just hanging out and talking during the gig. I don't understand.
You know what's really different now too is like when you brought up about Ribco or whatever, seeing shows in the middle of the week. Man, when I first started going out to bars, I was grandfathered in before the age change
Okay.
from 19 to 21. So I could I was like maybe the last year you could drink as a 19-year-old, but it didn't matter what night you went out during the week to see a band. There was bands all week.
Yeah,
You know, and there was people out seeing bands on Wednesday night, Thursday night,
I hear people
Tuesday
talking
night.
about the Clipper,
Yeah,
right, over the years,
yeah.
right? Clipper, there'd be a band there like all week.
So you
know?
would go to see a band in Davenport, say the Village of East Davenport. There's a couple clubs down there. They'd close at 1 or whatever, 2 or whatever it was. Then you'd go over to the Clipper in Rock Island because they closed at 3. So you'd go over there and see that, and it didn't matter what night it was,
Yeah.
and it just that could never work these days. You
No.
know? It's just
No.
I don't know why it worked then, but it did.
Well, it wasn't Netflix and Hulu, and
There's a lot of reasons. you
Yeah,
know?
there is a lot of
And
reasons.
drinking
yeah.
was, and driving was completely
correct. Well,
different.
that's another thing. Like,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
mean, look, you shouldn't drink and drive.
No,
right?
it never
And-
should have. But
Right.
But
And
if you feel okay,
DUIs are more
Yeah.
prevalent now. Like the police are cracking down on
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right? Whereas in the 80s, there's a Bill Hicks bit, right? Bill Hicks, a comedian, talking about like a cop pulled somebody over back then. Oh, you drinking? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kill your buzz. Like carry on. Sorry about that.
I'll escort you.
Yeah. Oh, oof, man, my bad.
Yeah. No, it's definitely different. That was a different time. And
Yeah,
that,
times are changing.
and that just can't exist anymore. And it's hard enough to get people out on a Friday night.
True. Don't you feel like shows start a little earlier now?
Yeah,
right?
there's that. For sure.
That was one thing about Ribco.
I wish they started even earlier.
Yeah, give me like a 7 o'clock start, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like Ribco, I don't
For
know how
really
many-
all those other reasons.
I don't know how many times like Ribco would be like, okay, we need to stretch this shit out till 2, right? So you go on at 12:30. I'm like, oh,
And it's like to
God.
keep people in there drinking.
and nobody,
Well, sure.
and
Until-
nobody,
yeah.
like nobody,
Closing
like
time.
you would think like being the headline, right, was something cool. But like, no, give me, I want to be the first band or the middle band. You put me in that last spot, like,
A good example is I play in a cover band too, and our time frames is 8 to midnight.
Yeah.
And we're done.
yeah,
And in the past it was you played till 2 o'clock.
9 to 1, 10 to 2, right?
Yeah,
Or-
so shit's done early,
Yep.
and you think a bar would want that later crowd or that
But
that,
people don't stay out that late.
but that's
right?
true. That's why
Yeah,
it's
people
not
don't-
till 1 or 2.
Yeah,
They're
let's-
open I think till then, but they just I don't know. It's just you're done.
Let's make 7 p.m. show starts a thing. Like
I like it.
Okay, I have a
pro
couple of
that.
things to interject here. We have some comments from the Peanut Gallery. That is my wife. We have a poster for Mark.
Like it.
We're gonna get that for him before he leaves. The ZED show, 10 years ago and a month.
With the sideshow.
Yeah.
you were
Yep.
talking about earlier.
It was the day before Abernathy's opened.
Oh, wow.
And they just celebrated their 10 year.
Okay.
So about 10 years ago,
2013?
almost to the dot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was later than you thought.
It was a lot later.
But I said about 10, probably.
And then the My Chemical Romance song is Thank You for the Venom. Has the same riff as the Megadeth Tornado of Souls.
Oh, okay.
So check that out if you're listening. Check those out. Just listen to the first 10 seconds back to back.
That's a 1990s Rust in Peace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually,
I'm a radio
yeah,
guy. I know this stuff.
I just recommend you listen to Megadeth. Just skip the My Chemical Romance. That's my recommendation.
Well, it's just maybe an interesting thing
It is.
if you're interested.
That's funny.
In it. And then also, the Blue Ribbon Lounge has an insane opportunity. Not so much insane. Insane to me. But there's a musician, Sugar Pit, and he is an electronic artist. Somewhere not quite rap, but he does all digital music. He does like working at my job. I'm working at my job, and he is trying to do an all house show tour. I'm trying to get him in here into the basement, into the Blue Ribbon Lounge. So if anybody out there is listening or willing to go to TikTok or Instagram and post or tag under his Sugar Pit comments or whatever, tag me or whatever, or post that you should come to Moline, Illinois, because that would be insane. And I wanted to make sure I said that because I'm like kind of giddy over it.
Yeah, house shows. I've been lucky enough to play a few house shows in the last 5-6 years, and I feel like I'm a dude in my 40s, right? Doing house shows.
Were you at the Behold the Broken House show we had here?
No, not here.
I think Scott was here.
Yeah, so there was a dude in Bettendorf that was doing house shows, and it probably goes back to 2013 or so, right? I would have done it 2014 or 15, I don't know, but he was doing house shows, and it was cool, right? Because the people that go to those shows are there to pay attention. They're not the people I was complaining about a minute ago that are talking. Right. They and even if this was when I was doing Last Glimpse, and I felt like we were way older than the crowd, and the crowd probably wouldn't want to listen to us normally. But you know what? They sat there, they paid attention, they were polite, they listened to the music, right? Yeah, it was cool. So
That's a different. It's a whole
pro
different
house
ad.
shows, pro house shows, man. So
How
let's
many-
get that guy here.
How many people do you think you can fit in the lounge?
My wife thinks 30 people comfortably,
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
50 people uncomfortably.
Yeah. 70 people awesome.
Would you have to rearrange and
I would.
Nice.
The stage is where we do the podcast recording now. And I moved it over here to in the middle of the room to be more comfortable for the four of us. I would be able to rearrange. I would take anything out. And plus, you know what? I have a spare room if he wants to crash here. I mean, it kind of depends if he
House
wants
shows. Let's do this.
how much money he wants. You know what I mean?
That's true.
He's TikTok famous.
Yeah.
But
You do what, like a cover, or you get like a keg and sell cups or something?
I would figure it out. I think.
what if you did
I'd get
something
investors.
like a
Yeah.
house show and do
Get
something like
backers.
Rascals or something? I mean, do a
A double thing. Yeah.
You know, make it worth his while, or
Well,
double dip.
and I kind of shot my shot. I do the podcast.
Did you write him a letter?
I did. Well, I
Get
was.
his address.
You know what?
I'm on it.
You were talking about that, and I was thinking the DM is the new.
Yeah, slide into somebody's
is.
DM.
Yeah.
But
And that's-
We're not ready for that.
Well, and I slid into his TikTok DMs. I
Yeah.
slid into his Instagram DMs. I
Yeah.
slid into his Facebook DMs.
You've already kind of planted that seed.
Yes,
And-
he said back to me. He replied.
okay,
he was
you
like,
weren't left on red.
right.
Yeah.
He said, "Cool, man. I'll let you know if it happens." And then I shot the double shot. I'm really into audio video editing right now, and I'm like, we'll do a fucking music video down here.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, we'll get
You
the cameras
know,
going. Yeah,
and it's like I don't got a bunch of expensive cameras, but I got access to some mediocre cameras. I think we can figure
And
out.
You're just offering to him, right? You're not, like, hey,
you know
dude,
what?
I'm not holding him down and drowning him in it.
Yeah.
Well, when we did our video or our CD release show, we had a buddy do a 7-camera video shoot.
7 camera?
Probably at least, right?
I don't know.
I don't know if I even noticed a single one there.
Yeah.
But I was too busy talking to Scott
We've,
House.
we've
so.
got a couple videos from the show out, and he's done several.
Is that on the ZED page?
Oh, we're
yeah.
not on YouTube. We can share them to you
Yeah.
if you want to get them on.
Yeah,
your
but
Blue
check
Ribbon
out
page.
Zed on YouTube.
He does it for like $15 a song or something. I mean,
What?
Yeah.
You got to get me in contact with this guy.
he would totally do something like that, but that's an option.
Yeah,
So
I would love to.
for very reasonable.
Yeah, I would love to get in contact with that guy.
I'm pro house show. I like this.
And
I
we
like
could
this.
open. Zed's gonna open.
Yeah, Zed will open, right? And then we'll also close.
Well, we had Behold the Broken in here, and fucking Tony is he's hammering nails when he hits his drums.
Was that just Joe and Tony at that point? Or was it a 3-piece?
Also, so Joe, Tony Johnson, and Tony Stopoulos from the
That's right.
Agrestics.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And it was 2 guitars and a drum.
No, I'm sure it was loud as fuck down
Yeah,
there.
and
We would be loud. I know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Every
Our
drummer
fucking-
would be loud down
Yeah.
there.
So what do you think about that? Like when they played, I was like, "This is the worst thing ever" because it's just all like reverberating around.
How'd they go over with the neighbors?
Earplug.
Dude, you can't hear anything down here.
Really?
You cannot hear. If you went outside, you'd be able to hear it, but as soon as you step into a house, you won't hear it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel our practices are pretty damn loud.
Yeah, I'm sure we are. But again, we're in the basement, and
I feel like we're like 5 times louder in the basement than we are when we go out and play.
well, because we're in a cramped. we're in a very tiny. Like you were on top of my crash cymbals, and I am like I am practically sitting on top of your guitar.
Do you know what my ears feel like
I
with
know.
your cymbal right
I
there
know,
after
I know.
about 2 days
I'm sorry,
afterwards?
I'm sorry.
I've got earplugs. I guess I should use them.
Yeah.
I work at
For
a safety company.
Yeah. It's
And
like
I
working
can't
for an
hear.
earplug company, and like
Yeah.
I don't wear earplugs. I don't have any.
I'm selling them all.
Right.
It's like,
yeah. Exactly.
So, have either of you two ever played in a garage?
Oh, I used to practice in a garage. Number one, like that was
spot.
Feral Kids, but like played a gig in a garage.
Or just like that your practice spot?
Yeah, the Feral
or-
Kids. When I was in Chicken Boy's side project, doing
think
all
I
his
was
weird Chicken Boy songs, which was a fun band.
What would you relate it to? Like a Mr. Bungle type thing?
Yeah,
or?
kind of Mr. Bungle, but not as crazy maybe. But yeah, no, we practiced in a garage in the West End of Davenport.
Okay.
So like wintertime, we had one of those like torpedo heaters,
Yeah.
right? So yeah,
And
it was.
summer must have sucked.
I can't remember if it was air. I feel like
Open
it wasn't
the
too
door.
bad. I feel like it was air conditioned, maybe
Yeah.
even too. Like one of these fancy climate controlled West End
Neighbor
garages.
problems or anything?
You know what? If that would have been the band for neighbors to complain about,
Yeah.
right? And I don't think Bill ever had any problems with it. you
It's
know?
also, you said West End.
Super West End.
Yeah.
Super West End. Like
Probably not an issue.
yeah. But I mean, we would do we'd probably be done at like 10:30, man. That's
late
yeah.
for a garage.
I always feel bad.
10:30?
Yeah.
Damn.
I know,
I'd be
it would have
pissed.
been like a Wednesday too, right? Yeah, we're in the garage, especially in the summertime. Like
Yeah.
when people have their windows
open. Yeah.
And maybe they really like the songs that
Yeah.
Eric.
No,
maybe
they-
these Chicken Boy songs. Like, wow, did that song change time signatures 3 times? Awesome. And is the singer singing the same thing he sang at the last practice? Because he probably isn't.
Who was the singer?
Doug Brundy's. This
Oh,
is a
really?
Doug Brundy's song.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a Doug Brundy's. Me and Doug and Jeff Loader was the original
Okay.
bass player. Then Worm took Jeff's
okay.
spot. That was the first band I was ever in with Worm, so that started a whole nother thing. So
Is that how you met him?
I had known him just through like the One Night Standers because he's original One Night Standers bass player.
All those guys seem to be in the same scene in some.
well, that's the thing. That
either working at music around or something
yeah,
like that.
Yeah,
you
the
know?
music around. That's a whole.
Yeah.
But like talk back to like my points earlier, all the bands I'd ever been in with like dudes that I knew before I was in Zed, right? So so garage. You ever practice in a garage?
I don't ever. It's mostly been basements that if I was ever gonna sit down and map it all out, it seems like it's all been basements.
My very first band when I was in high school, we were like 14, and we only knew like a Poison song and maybe like a Guns N' Roses song, and we didn't really have any gear. And the singer, somehow we figured out that if you plug like Walkman headphones in, you could sing into the the actual
Whoa.
headphone.
I've
it
done
was
that before.
Yeah, see. So we, the bass player was his parents' house. We actually had to practice outside in the driveway. We're out in the country, right?
In the drive.
We're out in the country. We're out in the middle of nowhere, an old Route 2 out in the middle of nowhere, right? And so we would play these same 2 songs over and over and whatever else we were trying to do. And eventually about 11 to 30, like a guy that lived like 2 miles away drove over and he's like, enough. Enough. We're like, okay, sorry about that. Yeah. Because we were just, you're out in the middle of the country, so that snare drum crack was probably, that was flowing.
So I got 2 things. The first one is inside baseball. Who do you think we should have on the show in the future? I was thinking. Well, I watched The Minor Disturbance with you on it.
Oh, God.
Is how I got a lot of inside baseball. That was 8 years ago. I was thinking Travis. Also, Worm is cool. What do you...
Is he?
I think he's cool. I don't know
Worm is
how he
super
would do
cool.
in a 2-hour...
Yeah.
But is there anybody you guys think would be cool to be on the podcast?
So if Travis is going to be on, prepare for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so you got that. So you could probably do 5 shows. So you could probably do
in a row.
You could do like edit up, and you have like a year's worth of stuff done, and it's gonna be a long night. So pack a lunch, but it's it'll go into a lot of detail and stuff you didn't ask for. So
I'm trying to think, like, who would be cool, huh? Besides Mark and myself.
Well,
Interesting.
Well, I'm like, would Dave be on it? I mean, this is generally a Hollywood Dave special.
Is the podcast being recorded this time of year?
Yeah, every time. And then past that, I was wondering how you guys thought like the radio has changed since you were younger to now. And we have talked about like finding new music and the different avenues now. I'd like to hear maybe a little bit more about finding music then. Versus maybe your experiences now.
So I felt like this could be like a whole hour-long episode in itself.
Yeah.
Right? But
we have like 4 minutes.
I know. Yeah, the producer's giving me the cut it off time. Right? But so when Mark was talking about earlier, how he has the new car with no CD player, right? I was thinking about today, would FM radio exist if they weren't putting those in cars anymore? Like, does anybody listen to FM radio?
That's a good question.
Outside of their car,
construction site guys.
I have 93.5 on. Beyond
In your car, though, right?
Yeah.
Only in your car.
In your CD playerless car.
yeah.
So I'm out.
93.5, is that Dave and Darren?
Yeah. No.
Well, it's
do they still do Dave and Darren?
No, it's just current rock. Metal
Is that
stuff.
iRock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
So,
okay.
So I like hearing some new stuff. I don't love it all, but it's better than, even though I worked at 97X, I'm over.
You've heard all those songs before.
A million times. There's like nowhere to go. So I'm done with it. I listen to Bill and Greg because I'm friends and I worked with them for a long time, and it's a morning show that's not music related. So
Which is crazy to me.
If I had to find an FM radio in my house now,
yeah,
I couldn't do it, right?
Well, right.
I think my stereo receiver would probably do it. There's no antenna hooked up to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
if it wasn't in a car, would FM radio exist? Like, who listens to it?
Maybe not.
I have a radio at my desk at work, but the
Actual
antenna,
radio.
Yeah. But the antenna, it sucks to try to tune in.
Yeah.
But Dwyer Michaels, I'll listen to on my phone sometimes.
Exactly.
In the
You
morning.
listen to
Right.
apps, right?
Yeah.
So there is that. Yeah, for sure. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
But to your second question, like, so how are people finding new music now, right?
Or how did we then?
Well,
TikTok.
then was. Yeah.
Was it all radio, all hearsay?
So like in my case, it was hanging out at record stores for the most part, because generally radio didn't play the stuff I wanted to hear, So for the most part,
and were you able to play it when you
Oh,
had
God, no.
control? No,
No, because
Yeah.
there
it was
you
all
had-
preset up.
You had no control over what you played. It was all logged, So you got, like, when I would go in and do a shift, we had 24-hour notebook, basically computer of, okay, this is the hour you're playing, this is where your stops are, this is where your commercial breaks are, this is the songs that are going to play next. You pulled your music from CDs at that time when I was there, before it was all loaded into computer, and then so yeah, it was.
How about
logged.
hitting the post?
Oh yeah.
Not so much a 97 album rock thing. That's
okay.
more of a.
So like the Stranglehold riff would start.
Well, I mean, yeah,
and you're like, all right, don't forget coming up on Wednesday we
So-
got
Yeah.
Dollar Wings
Well-
at blah blah, and then like boom, Ted Nugent's like,
It's kind of
Starts
funny
singing.
you mentioned that, because like when I first started, one of my jobs was recording an album onto a cart. If you guys know what a cart is, it's basically like similar to an 8-track, and that's what you played in a machine that's on a tape. So you would record an album cut onto the cart, and you could play the cart instead of a record. But you would put how long the intro is on there. So like if you're playing the song, the song has got an intro of 15 seconds before vocals start. So you could kind of do your mix, and you knew how long you could talk before the
don't
vocals
forget we
came
got
in.
25-cent
So
beers
you're-
at Governor's on Tuesday.
Yeah, so
all
you're
right.
you're
next
kind
up
of doing
is
that,
Dr.
but that's
Feelgood.
that was definitely more of a top 40 kind of hit radio sort of thing, But that's, you kind of did that back a little bit when I was there, because you were mixing songs. You were actually playing once, whether it was records. In my time, it was more CDs, which is the same difference, but just different format. You're still playing one, playing another. You're mixing the two, and stuff. So I don't know what the hell. I don't know how it works now, to be honest. Because it's a whole different world. Which
It's probably some digital interface
Well,
that
it-
looks like two record players or something.
It's
Is
so
what I've seen
weird.
on the internet.
When we did ZED did a radio thing a couple months back, and you
on
saw
Dwyer Michaels, and
Yeah.
like we played live in the studio.
Yeah.
It was super weird.
I
like,
saw that and I was like, nah.
Really?
No, I
Yeah,
didn't
like,
see it till
nah.
about an hour after, which was
It was
unfortunate.
it was a super interesting experience
Yeah.
because like we were like just in the Rock and Roll Mansion, right, playing in like the waiting room,
Yeah,
like,
it
in
was
a
just a
lounge area,
conference
right?
room or something.
But yet you're live on the radio too, and they're in
Yeah.
what, 5 other markets besides the Quad Cities
Yeah.
or something
Really?
like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
syndicated.
they're
Dwyer Michaels
simulcast.
is-
Yeah.
they're-
That's crazy.
yeah.
So you're playing this gig essentially to nobody,
Yeah,
right?
But to everybody,
But
in,
to
in
still
5
like
markets.
thousands of people essentially,
hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Well, you're here in the Quad Cities, which is a 400,000 people market. Obviously, not all tuned in, but
Yeah.
And then we're in
they in
whatever
Cedar Rapids
Cedar
or
Rapids,
something? Yeah.
Decatur, maybe.
Yeah.
Still fairly local, though,
yeah.
at least.
No,
yeah,
every,
it's still local, but
definitely within Iowa, Illinois, but 5 markets, but once we went into the new studios and stuff, and it's nothing like I remember, because it's 20 years, 25 years difference
Yeah.
of technology and screens, and it was pretty amazing.
It was pretty amazing.
And I have no idea how it all works.
And
but-
watching those two old school radio dudes
Yeah.
like do live radio, right? Because like we're just kind of sitting there waiting for our time, but like it's they're old pros, man. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it's-
Pros.
they are pros for
I,
sure.
I listen to them and it's like,
well, I mean, it's I mean,
Have you heard our podcast?
that's very good, Dave.
that's you, Dave.
Yeah.
That's you.
What?
it's on the fly. And,
It is on the
Well,
fly.
and you know what?
It's
I'm not.
live, dude.
I'm not
It's
trying to
live.
dog them.
No.
I think they are doing what is necessary.
We
you know?
can't say they're not old pros, man. These guys have like made a living doing morning radio, right?
Yeah.
And there's
And-
not a
and-
lot.
You're not wrong.
And there's not a lot of those dudes left, and there's not a lot of like market for that either. Like who?
I was
like,
just
Who
talking.
else is on the radio in the morning?
So-
Besides like Bob and Tom, which
I
is syndicated,
can
right?
kind of
Yeah.
talk to you a little bit more about how it's gone from where I was to where it is now. And, like I said, there had to be a person on the air or manning the stations, 24 hours a day.
Yeah, that IROC you're talking about.
Well, now, there's probably 4 stations in there now, I think, roughly, and there might be 3 people that are live on all the stations throughout the day
at any given time.
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise,
if
it's
the
done
rest
and
is voice
preloaded.
tracked
It's preloaded
into the computer. There's not a. There's a possibility that something would go off the air and no one would know for
I've heard that before.
for a long time,
yeah.
because there's nobody there, and and most of those things are voice tracked. If you call, you're not going to get answered. It's crazy. That's why I got out of it in a way.
Well, and you know what? I was just talking to Joel Turner earlier today about
New After Dark's guitar player.
Yes. Congratulations
Yeah,
to him.
congratulations, Joe.
I was talking to him about Casey Kasem. And it's not like they're using AI to do his voice or anything, but they're just playing. And
Like
dude's
the
been
old-
dead for like 5 years,
And
right?
they couldn't wasn't there like some weird thing about like he hadn't been buried
Right.
yet?
There was-
right, like
yeah.
he was like somebody
his
some
family were
His daughter and current wife at the time
Were fighting over-
the ownership, basically, of where to bury him and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, they're just whatever station that's on, they're just playing old. I mean, he's literally had 40 years of shows
Yeah.
to rebroadcast. And obviously, if you listen to 97X, that's the same music pretty much for 40 years of music. So Casey Kasem can live on in infamy, basically.
Yeah.
Because there's a market for that music. To a point, probably. Those people will die off and have no idea what Casey Kasem is.
Are you saying they're just using like old Casey Kasem tracks to like lead into like new songs or something?
No.
It'll be like
It'll be top 40. Hey,
Are they just
top 40.
replaying the old
That
shows?
one.
Yeah.
yeah, because it'll be like this is top 40 from 1965, going back in the Wayback Machine.
I was always a Rick Dees fan back in the top 40 shows. That was the Casey K. I always like Rick Dees.
It would have been more current stuff for sure, probably.
Yeah.
But
You know who Rick Dees is, Matt?
No, Rick D's nuts.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I should.
would that have been? I don't even know
Well
what
played.
he would have been on. Would that have been like Power 98 or something?
I don't remember. No, I don't know. That's a good.
Was he
that's
more
good
like
question.
a pop?
Yeah.
Or
Well,
like
they all like Casey Kasem was
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
pop.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
all pop music. It was
Like
top 40s.
Yeah, top
100
40.
Kinda,
It was
yeah.
back in the it was probably like 9-year-old me, like with my recording off the radio on the cassette.
Yeah,
you know?
I recognize that name. Yeah. You ever call in requests so you could record it?
So I never forget. I think it was like my 7th or 8th birthday. Right, my dad called into Spike O'Dell. And that would have been like, was that Kick 104?
Yeah.
right?
Kick 104.
Yeah, and it was like when they would read off the birthdays every morning, right?
Yeah.
And my dad said something like, like to a really cool dude, David Hughes, happy 8th birthday. And I was like 8 years old. I'm like, that's so embarrassing, Dad. I remember like going to school, so I go to 2nd grade that day, and everybody's like, hey, really cool dude, like your little asshole friend.
They're all
It's
listening
like-
to it on the bus.
and it's the nicest, it was very nice of my dad to do that, right? And then you're at that age where you're a kid where everything embarrasses you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is getting off the rails. We're at around 2 hours. I think we're going to cut it off.
No, I got another good hour. In
We're
there, man.
we're
Let's
cut
keep
we're
rolling.
cutting the recording off. That's too long. Hey, if you guys want to stick around and hang out, I'm all for that for sure. You know it. Hollywood
usually do.
Dave,
Yeah.
Podcast Dave.
We usually
Mark, this is your first rodeo,
Yeah.
but thank you so much for listening, folks. Thanks for helping me by listening to get to know Heavy Metal Mark. That I appreciate that. Hollywood Dave, thanks for stopping by again. And you know what?
Great guess. Good information. I
like
have
to
one
say
more
it's been a-
question.
yeah.
Oh, one more question.
For like the layman. EP and LP. I know it's extended play and long play. And it sounds like it's the same thing.
EPs were meant to be, I think, several songs under a time frame of 20 minutes or something like that. Long play LPs were meant to be full length, 5 songs.
Did that always have anything to do with like So like the old 33 and a third records, right? You know, versus like what was the singles were on the
ones.
45.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, EPs were still 33s.
33s,
Yeah,
okay.
because it was technically generally anywhere from 2 to 4 songs, 2 to 5 songs.
So like
generally,
one's like
you
your
know.
teaser, and then one's like your full album kind of deal.
Well, yeah, sometimes. Speaking like from a metal standpoint in the 80s, it was kind of like a teaser between records, sometimes it would be a couple new songs, and then one side would be just a B-side of something unreleased, a cover song, maybe a live song or something like that, so maybe it was put out for a tour or something. It's just definitely a place saver.
The EP is the shorter one. The
Yeah.
LP is the longer.
Yeah,
one.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
why it was called extended play, I don't really know.
It was like the VCR codes back in the day too, like the long play, like the LP, SP, SLP was like the super long. I don't know what a super. I always thought it was super long play.
Yeah. Where you could either record one movie on the whole
Or
thing,
you get
or you could
three.
two to six, two,
Yeah.
4,
Yeah.
and 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was done generally just to kind of, to keep fans interested between longer releases. Generally,
Modern music, I think the EP is kind of making a comeback in the sense like I don't think people care about 12 songs from an artist released all at once anymore.
totally different
right?
now.
So now you can just throw 3 or 4 out there. Here, release an EP. Here's 3 songs. Here's 4 songs. Right?
People don't listen to
Start to
albums
finish,
like
right?
that
Start to
anymore.
finish,
That's
right.
literally an entire conversation
That's a
in
whole
itself.
Exactly.
And
yeah, we'll do that next week. on
That's
the
just one
podcast.
question
Stay
that I had,
tuned.
on my brain.
Stay tuned.
But yeah, thanks guys for coming out.
I'd like to say it's been a pleasure, but
It is what it is. Thanks for listening, folks. Time traveling back into this day and age, and Happy New Year to y'all.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And if you're going to do anything this year, be good to yourselves.
Yes, and remember, God gave rock and roll to you.
that's right.
Talk a little bit.
Damn it, Bobby. Hello.
Talk louder.
Hello.
Yeah.
Damn it,
Yeah.
Bobby.
Hello.
Hello. Anybody in there? Orange pie, fried, coffee. Come on, damn it.
Pretty good.
Talk a little bit, Dave.
A little bit.